On her first day of school, this girl was teased by her classmates because of her humble origins. Her friends had no idea that her family was only her adoptive parents, and that she was actually the long-lost granddaughter of the chairman of a leading South Korean conglomerate. Despite it being her first day, her grandfather and mother were both busy with work, so Dami had to go to school alone. Moni was the ringleader of the bullying group, but she pretended to be a girl and helped Dami. After gaining Dami's trust, she led Dami down a path of crime that led to her death. One day, Moni unexpectedly received a picture of herself about to give birth. Remembering her friend Dami, whom she had harmed, Moni angrily tore the picture to pieces, then ran into her bedroom to get a bottle of tranquilizers, but Dami's voice still echoed in her ears. She even saw the ghost of Mami crawling out of the TV, softly saying, "Want to go to hell?" This curse not only haunts Moni, but also everyone who has ever heard her. The story began about 6 months ago. After more than 15 years of searching, the family finally found their long-lost biological daughter. Although her adoptive parents weren't wealthy, they raised her to be mature and sensible. Before letting Jia Hai take their daughter home, the adoptive parents gave very careful instructions. They explained that Dami had a congenital heart condition and that they absolutely must not hurt her, otherwise her heart condition would relapse. GH was deeply moved, thanking her adoptive parents profusely and promising to take good care of Dami. Later, Dami was taken by her biological mother to a new house, several times larger than her home in the countryside, with a bedroom decorated in a pink theme, making her extremely happy. However, the joy was short-lived. Soon after, Dami was introduced to her paternal grandfather. Her grandfather was a patriarchal man who preferred grandsons to granddaughters, but because her biological father had passed away and she was his only child, he reluctantly accepted her into his family. Jia Hai carefully instructed her daughter about her grandfather's preferences so that the girl wouldn't make any mistakes on her first meeting. Her grandfather had a doctor living with him to keep him company when he was sad, but Jia Hai knew perfectly well that the woman was eyeing his inheritance. Thus, a struggle ensued between the mistress and the granddaughter. Young and naive, Dami was easily manipulated by the doctor, which angered her grandfather so much that he kicked Dami and her mother out of the house. On the way home, Jia Hai angrily reproached her daughter for displeasing her grandfather and for trusting outsiders so easily. Her mother warned her, "This isn't the peaceful countryside you used to live in. It's a world of constant conflict and bloodshed. If you're still naive, you'll be the first one to suffer." Jia Hai kicked her daughter out of the car so she could walk home. The next day, Dam discovered that her biological mother had thrown all the food her adoptive parents had sent from their hometown into the trash. Jia Hai didn't want Dami to be tainted by the poverty of her adoptive parents. When eating that food, Dami felt resentful and burst into tears. Her biological mother could scold her, but she couldn't insult her adoptive parents. Just then, her adoptive parents called, and Dami choked up, unable to speak. Jia Hai snatched the phone from her daughter, putting on a fake tone, saying that Dami was adapting very well, but her adoptive parents had taken care of Dami for 15 years. How could they not know she was crying? It's just that they no longer had the right to interfere in her life. Meanwhile, Jiang Jinmo, the director of an acting management company, was hosting a party to introduce a new actor. However, the party had barely begun when a gang of thugs wearing helmets arrived and disrupted it. They knocked out the security guards and then used baseball bats to smash up the party. Guests fled in panic. Director Jiang wanted to know who these guys were, but the ringleader gave him a star rating and relayed a message from Director Kang. "Next time you're recruiting new actors, don't compete with Director Kang for people." Director Jiang then flipped up the ringleader's helmet so his face was captured on camera, resulting in the ringleader being taken away and locked in a locker. The news of Director Kang's arrest quickly spread through the media. Director Jiang was extremely pleased after watching the scene, and immediately hugged the actress, promising to buy her an apartment after receiving the compensation money. Later, Director Jiang woke up to find the actress gone, replaced by a man he had been relying on. This man was Du Shu, the ringleader of the thugs from the previous night. It turned out that it was all Director Jiang's scheme to feign injury. He only needed to get himself slightly injured to send his enemy, the gang leader, to jail. Du Shu held out his hand demanding money. If it weren't for his skillful technique, that stab could have pierced his internal organs. Director Jiang wasn't going to be idle either, so he demanded an increase in the reward. Director Jiang tried to argue, but Du Shu pressed hard on the wound, forcing Director Jiang to compromise before he finally turned and left. That evening, Du Shu arrived in front of a hair salon. This was where his mother worked. She should have opened her own salon, instead of working for others and being insulted. But her son had stolen her capital, plunging her into hardship.
Du felt incredibly guilty.
He called his mother to ask if she was still working as a laborer so he could help her out. The mother found the work there very good, and Du promised to return all the money he had taken. The mother didn't need the money. She only wanted her son to live in peace. The next day, Du went to see Director Jiang. He wanted to collect the money Director Jiang had promised, but unexpectedly, Director Jiang went back on his word. Du face was captured on camera. He is currently a wanted man. Because of an attempted murder, it was Director Jiang who reported him to the police. Du reminded Director Jiang that even if he went to prison, his subordinates would still seek revenge. Unexpectedly, the subordinates appeared. They had all been bribed by Director Jiang to betray their boss.
Du was deeply disappointed.
He was surrounded by his henchmen and the police. Director Jiang laughed gleefully, almost to the point of his guts spilling out. Du quick-witted, jumped down from the glass and escaped. Despite being surrounded on all sides, he still managed a spectacular escape. It's hard to say whether he was talented or if the police were all useless. Du will return to find Director Jiang to settle this score. Today is Dami's first day at her new school, but because her mother is busy, she has to go alone. Dami is very excited because this is a top-ranked girls' school in Korea, giving her a great chance to get into Seoul National University. However, the first thing Dama sees is a classmate being bullied. Perhaps this problem exists everywhere. The girl dancing here is Moni, an idol to all the female students in school. With her beautiful appearance and eye-catching dance moves, Moni easily attracts everyone's attention. Moreover, she is a friendly queen, always helping and giving expensive gifts to her classmates, so she is loved by everyone. Dami was in the same class as Moni. When her classmates learned she had transferred from a rural school, they sneered at her. Dami didn't care, but she caught Moni's eye. On her very first day of school, Dami stirred up a hornet's nest. During a test, she discovered her classmates secretly exchanging answers. Dami, being new and fearless, immediately stood up and reported them to the teacher. The teacher went over to the gang leader and demanded she hand over the materials. The gang leader immediately stuffed the piece of paper into her mouth. So there was no evidence, but why be so surprised when you have nothing to hide? The gang leader still argued with the teacher, saying she always had the worst grades in the school, so why would she cheat? Unexpectedly, her attempt to hide something was exposed. The teacher suspected the gang leader was just a middleman passing the answers and wanted to know who she intended to give them to. Her expression instantly tensed. The gang leader refused to answer, crumpled up the test paper, and stormed out of the classroom, not forgetting to give her a warning look. During recess, the bullies gathered, and it turned out Moni was their leader. She was rich and wanted to use money to buy grades and the loyalty of her classmates. Unexpectedly, a new transfer student disrupted things. Moni only wanted to achieve good academic results to get into art school, so the bullies groveled like dogs, promising not to let their big sister Moni down. But they had one question: why let damn me off so easily? In fact, Moni had already planned this, and she flashed a sinister smile. Then, while Dami was in the restroom, the bullies splashed water on her, soaking her completely. They even forced her head down between their legs so the gang leader could jump over it. Just then, Moni appeared, playing the role of the hero rescuing the damsel in distress. The bullies pretended to leave, giving Moni the spotlight. She said that if they didn't want to be bullied at school, they absolutely had to find allies. Moni wanted to be good friends with Dami, but Dami forgot her mother's advice and naively trusted strangers. From then on, the two were inseparable, appearing to be close friends. Moni even taught Dami to dance, helping her win over her grandfather. Moni began to change Dami, taking her to get haircuts and buying her hats, turning Dami into a carbon copy of herself. Meanwhile, Du went to the hair salon to find his mother, but she locked the door and said something to him. Unbeknownst to him, the police were lying in ambush there. His mother tried to hold off the police so Du could escape. He ran into an alley, where he was suddenly pulled inside by someone. It turned out to be Du younger brother. He wanted to fight back against the police, giving his older brother a chance to get away. Du was filled with regret, having spent half his life wandering the world, betrayed by his subordinates. Only his family remained as his support. Du vowed to treat his mother and younger brother well after this incident. Then, Du followed Director Jiang to a hotel. Director Jiang was meeting a young woman wearing a girls' school uniform. She was underage but already pregnant. Director Jiang advised her to have an abortion, saying that if this were exposed, it would be very troublesome. The doorbell rang, and when Director Jiang opened the door, he was unexpectedly rude. Du Shu didn't say much but kicked him. Su Baby, quick-witted, turned off the lights, giving Director Jiang a chance to escape. She also conveniently left Du Shu with a scar on his face. Du Shu angrily chased after Director Jiang, but lost sight of him. Su Baby also quickly slipped away. Du Shu could only find her name tag, which unexpectedly bore Dami's name. The next day, Du Shu went to the girls' school and shouted Dami's name. Her classmates all thought he was Dami's sugar daddy, but she didn't know who Du Shu was. He still didn't believe her, so he took out Dami's name tag and asked where the person who stayed at the hotel with her the night before had gone. Moni was outside filming when she called the police. The wanted criminal was at the school. It turned out that Mai's goal was to kill two birds with one stone, to ruin Dam Mi's reputation and help director Zhang solve the problem with Du Huk. That's why she went to such lengths to turn Dam Mi into a doppelganger of herself. Remember the thugs who stole Dam Mi's name tag? At this point, Du Huk wanted to take Dami away, but a teacher appeared and stopped them. He accidentally bumped into the teacher's chest, and everyone immediately accused him of being a pervert. Du Huk was surrounded and unable to leave, only able to wait for the police to arrive and take him to the station. After this incident, the teacher called Dami to the office to ask about the truth of the story. Dami vehemently denied it, but unexpectedly, even the teacher was bribed by Moni with a diamond necklace, forcing Dami to confess to prostitution. However, when Dami exposed the bribery, the teacher slapped her across the face. Suddenly, Dami's phone rang. Her grandfather was coming to dinner that night. Because Dami had been constantly trying to win his favor, he had agreed to invest in her mother's film project. Jia Hai waited and waited, but her daughter still hadn't returned, so she started to get impatient. She decided to show the contract to her grandfather first, but he didn't even bother to look at it. Having waited too long for Dam Mi, her grandfather flew into a rage. He tore up Jia Hai's film project investment contract and left in his car with the doctor. Jia Hai chased after them, begging him to stop, but he ignored her. She turned her anger towards Dami, blaming her for not coming home early. Hatred consumed the mother. Meanwhile, Moni, having successfully carried out her wicked plan, called Director Jiang to inform him that Du Shu had been arrested. Unexpectedly, she was immediately struck by karma. She did all this to prevent anyone from discovering her pregnancy. Moni had used a corset to support her waist. As the time for delivery approached, she felt intense abdominal pain. She quickly sought a secluded place to give birth. Her water broke. Luckily, Moni found an empty painting studio. She writhed in pain on the floor and finally successfully delivered. The baby's cries alerted Dam Mi. She went to the art gallery and discovered that her classmate had just given birth, and both mother and baby were very weak. Dami wanted to take Moni and her baby to the hospital, but Mai disagreed. She had an audition the next day. This was her chance to become a famous actress. Moni didn't want anyone to know about her secret pregnancy. Mai threatened Dami if she didn't keep it a secret, she would kill the baby herself. Seeing Moni's determined look, Dami finally agreed to help her. Moni asked Dami to take the baby away first, saying she would clean up the room and come later. As soon as Dami took the baby away, a group of friends arrived at the art studio. Moni only had time to quickly tidy up before hiding behind a painting. The friends smelled a disgusting, fishy odor. Moni quickly wiped the blood from her thigh, but they still noticed blood on the mattress. However, they assumed there had been some kind of commotion, with only one friend saying, "I heard a baby crying just now, maybe someone gave birth here." Moni has started bleeding again. To convince her friends, Onlak decided to betray the person who had just helped her. Moni pointed in the direction Dami was running. Everyone thought Dami had just given birth there, and Moni even filmed it as evidence. Dami running away with her baby would make it easier for her to evade responsibility in the future. After deceiving her friends, Moni went to where Dami was. Dami desperately announced that the baby seemed to have stopped breathing. Moni reminded Dami that her job was over. From now on, Dami had to pretend she hadn't heard or seen anything. She had to keep this secret until she died. Then Moni took the baby and left. Unexpectedly, Dami received a call from her biological mother. Ga Hai had called many times, but Dami's phone was being held by the teacher, so she couldn't answer. It was already past her appointment with her grandfather. Dami hurried home through the rain. Her heart condition had relapsed, but as soon as she reached the door, Dami was punched by her biological mother. She stood up to apologize, only to be slapped again. Dami wanted to know why her biological mother was treating her like this. "Because you owe me money to help pay for your heart treatment," her mother replied. "Your adoptive parents mortgaged their house to pay for it." Jia Hai helped them pay off their debts and then brought her back, intending to use her to win over her grandfather. Jia Hai didn't realize that she was the one who owed her daughter money. What must Dami do to get her biological mother's forgiveness? Jia Hai told the girl to run to her grandfather's house right now and beg him to invest in her film project. If she didn't get his approval, she shouldn't come back home again. Jia Hai also reminded Dam not to think about returning to her adoptive parents. She would only be a burden to them. Dam was heartbroken and knelt on the ground, not knowing what to do. Then, in the pouring rain, she ran to beg her grandfather, but he refused to open the door. The doctor, feigning kindness, persuaded her grandfather to let Dam Me into the house. Grandpa remained coldly turned away. The doctor smiled triumphantly. Meanwhile, Du Shu was arrested and imprisoned, where he unexpectedly encountered Kang. Kang immediately dragged him into a private room and beat him up. "Why did you betray me?" In reality, Kang did this to deceive the police. But this was an opportunity to warn Du Shu, as Director Jiang was acting arrogantly, because there was someone behind him, someone powerful and extremely dangerous. Knowing he was doomed, Kang instructed Du Shu to find the mysterious person. Then, Kang continued to punch Du Shu to deceive the police, as there were also people working for the mysterious person at the station. Meanwhile, Moni brought the child to the foot of the bridge and arranged to meet Director Jiang. Unexpectedly, the baby was the child of the mysterious man. The more he mentioned it, the more Director Jiang received orders to take the baby away, but Moni said the baby seemed to be dead. Director Jiang didn't care. He had to resolve this matter quickly. If the mysterious man was implicated, he would definitely kill both of them. Director Jiang instructed Moni to keep it a secret and not to worry about the baby anymore. Moni reluctantly accepted the situation and returned home. Her family wasn't as wealthy as it appeared. They lived in a small, dilapidated room with her mother and two younger siblings. Her second brother was a gambler who only cared about getting paid, while her youngest constantly stole money to buy games. That's why Moni had to work as a sugar baby to earn money. Unable to endure this situation any longer, she decided to become a famous actress to change her life. Seeing Moni's empty wallet, the second brother demanded she go out and earn some money. He threatened to expose her family problems online if she didn't. Moni angrily pushed him against the wall. He then criticized her weak mother for being unable to do anything for her children. Moni told him to shut up. The youngest brother added fuel to the fire. The second brother demanded Moni bring the money home within a week, otherwise the whole world would know her true colors. Moni slumped to the ground in helplessness. Her mute mother approached to comfort her, but she could only laugh in despair. It was already midnight, and Dam Mei was still wailing in front of her grandfather's house, but he didn't bother to care. The little girl was so exhausted she fainted. Jia Hai watched from a distance, but instead of taking her daughter to the hospital, she simply rang the doorbell. The doctor opened the door. She had initially intended to abandon the girl, but the maid saw her and pretended to be kind. Afterward, the doctor took the girl to the hospital and called her adoptive parents. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the doctor spoke ill of the biological mother to the adoptive parents. In reality, Jia Hai hadn't lost her daughter. She had deliberately abandoned Dam Mei because she was completely unaware of her husband's family circumstances. Upon realizing her grandfather was wealthy, Jia Hai searched everywhere for her daughter in order to seize her share of the inheritance, including the house, car, and numerous investments she owned, all of which were negotiated with her grandfather. The condition was to bring Dami back. Even the money used to pay off Dami's adoptive parents' debts was from her grandfather. Now Jia Hai needs 100 billion in investment for her film project. If this project fails, her company will go bankrupt. That's why she wants to take advantage of Dam Mi. After hearing this, her adoptive parents still didn't believe her. The doctor told them to go see Jia Hai to confirm. Then she left with a triumphant look on her face. Meanwhile, Dam Mi, unconscious, was taken away by the doctor for examination. Jia Hai stood at a distance, seemingly unconcerned, but when her grandfather appeared, she feigned great distress and wept bitterly. Jia Hai blamed her grandfather for her daughter's predicament, telling him not to think that just because he had money, he could do whatever he wanted. Her grandfather didn't respond, seemingly filled with remorse. Meanwhile, Du Shu and Kang were transferred from the police station to the detention center at the same time. Kang immediately signaled to Du Shu with his eyes to plan their escape. On the way, the police stopped to let the two of them use the restroom. Taking advantage of the police's inattention, the two of them worked together to subdue the officers on guard. Unfortunately, Du Huk was injured, but can manage to steal the keys and save Du Huk. There was still one officer with a gun, so can cleverly knock down a light bulb, subdue the officer, and gave the keys to Du Huk. Thanks to Du Huk for searching for the mysterious person, Du Huk immediately fled, allowing him to hold off the police. At this time, the adoptive parents approached the biological mother, asking Rahai if what the doctor said was true, if she had abandoned Dam Me, and if she was only using her daughter to extort money from her grandfather. Rahai refused to admit it, and even blamed the adoptive parents, claiming they were the ones who kidnapped Dam Me to demand ransom. Her adoptive parents were extremely upset. If they had kidnapped her, why did they raise her for 15 years? Why did they spend all their assets on her heart surgery? Would her biological mother, Jia Hai, dare to do that? Jia Hai threatened to call the police if they said another word, then coldly turned and left. It turned out she had discovered her grandfather eavesdropping on their conversation. Later, her grandfather came into the room to visit Dami. Just as the little girl woke up, upon seeing her grandfather, Dami pleaded, "Grandpa, please invest in my biological mother's film project." Her grandfather then set a condition. She had to completely sever ties with her adoptive parents. He said they were just poor, lowly people, unworthy of meeting his granddaughter. Dami burst into tears. He shouldn't speak of Dami's adoptive parents like that. Although they were poor, they never demanded anything from her, and moreover, they cared for her as if she were their own daughter. From a young age, she was always loved and spoiled by her adoptive parents, but she never felt that love from her biological mother and grandfather. Her grandfather was extremely resolute. If she didn't agree to his conditions, the investment was out of the question. She hastily apologized to her grandfather, promising never to see her adoptive parents again. Knowing this, her adoptive parents could only pack their bags and return to their hometown. They were extremely sad and disappointed, but still hoped their daughter would have a good life. Today was Moni's audition day, and unexpectedly, she encountered a formidable opponent. The goddess was highly sought after. Moni recalled something from last night. Director Jiang had called her, saying that the baby had died, and as compensation for Moni, a mysterious person would help her pass the audition. Contestants were invited onto the stage to showcase their abilities, and Moni, having a pre-planned strategy, felt incredibly confident. One by one, the contestants were eliminated, but the toughest opponent remained on stage. Just then, the power went out. Moni, who had prepared a glowing costume, continued singing the song she was performing. The judges were extremely pleased. Among them was Ga Hai, and the result was as expected. Moni successfully landed a role in the new film, and she proudly walked through the crowd, rejecting all offers of collaboration from smaller companies. This caught Jia Hai's eye. Jia Hai immediately went to her grandfather's house, but the doctor said her grandfather wasn't home. He had gone to meet someone, and that person was the mysterious figure behind everything. The mysterious figure gave her grandfather a city development project. Her grandfather, like a dog being given food, happily knelt down to receive his reward. While waiting for her grandfather to return, Jia Hai and the doctor took the opportunity to catch up. Jia Hai questioned her, asking if she had spoken ill of her to Dam Mi's adoptive parents. The doctor didn't dare admit it. Jia Hai told her to just admit it, saying she should thank her for helping her get rid of an eyesore. Only now did the doctor feel the sting of it, realizing she had been deceived for a long time without knowing it. GH also reminded her that her grandfather valued blood ties and would give everything to Dam M, and she shouldn't even dream of getting a single penny from him. The doctor, enraged, was about to confront him when suddenly there was a noise outside. The bodyguards were carrying boxes out of the warehouse, all filled with money. But on this joyous occasion, her grandfather would invest 20 billion into Jia Hai's film project, plus another 30 billion as a gift for his granddaughter. Jia Hai quickly bowed in thanks, looking at the doctor with a triumphant expression. The doctor's eyes turned red with anger. After securing the large sum of money, Jia Hai didn't hesitate to spend 2 billion to invite Moni to join her company. Becoming an exclusive actress, Moni wanted to know why Jia Hai had chosen her. It turned out Jia Hai had seen through mice tactics at the audition. But this game was inherently unfair. Only the cunning could survive until the end. Jia Hai admired shrewd people like Moni, so she happily agreed to cooperate. Just then, Moni received a call from the director. Unexpectedly, someone had already planted the bait, exposing her true face. At school, she pretends to be a girl, but in reality, she's the gang leader, from a poor family but aspires to be a sugar baby for wealthy tycoons, even getting pregnant and giving birth at school. Moni vehemently denies it, but the director ignores her, unless she can find proof to clear her name. Otherwise, the director will find someone to replace her in the new film. Moni was furious and immediately thought of the only person who knew about it, her friend Nida Dami. She believed Dami hadn't kept the secret. That evening, Moni went to see director Jiang. She asked him to save her one last time, saying that someone else knew about her pregnancy, which caused director Jiang to react angrily. If the mysterious person found out, both of them would die. Mai had no other choice but to resort to threats. If they couldn't help, then they should just die. Director Jiang didn't know how to help either. In fact, Moni already had a plan. She had created a clone of herself named Dami, and now all she needed to do was shift all the blame onto Dami, and she could quietly withdraw. She even had video evidence to steer public opinion towards Dami. Director Jiang chuckled with amusement, surprised that his mistress could think so far ahead, but he still didn't know Dami's background. What if she was the daughter of some tycoon? Mai immediately asserted in a serious tone that Dami was just an adopted child from a poor family, with no illustrious background, so this matter would be easy. Later, Director Jiang approached his subordinates and assigned them an important task, to create a live stream program exposing the truth. The first case involved a female student who became pregnant and gave birth at school. Director Jiang gave his subordinates masks so that the mysterious person wouldn't be able to trace him as the mastermind, thus avoiding unnecessary repercussions. The next day, the gang members carried out Director Jiang's plan, parking their car in front of the girls' school and live-streaming the announcement of the girls' identity for defiling the uniform, not even bothering to cover their faces. Because of their vulgar language, Dami became the target of attacks from netizens and her classmates. The rumors quickly spread and reached Dami's adoptive father, who skipped class to find his daughter. The girls' school was also having a headache. The principal asked the homeroom teacher to call Dam so they could confirm. But the homeroom teacher didn't think it was necessary. She had been seen by Dami before, and since she had become a mistress, gotten pregnant, and been dumped by her boyfriend, Dami wanted to disappear with that secret. The homeroom teacher lied, saying she had personally witnessed the birth, that she had only been at the school for a few months, and therefore got pregnant at her previous school. The homeroom teacher wanted to hold a disciplinary committee and expel her directly. That way, the school will no longer have any involvement. A female teacher objected, saying their job was to protect the students, and they didn't know how distraught Dami was. Doing this would be too cruel to her. Unexpectedly, the principal agreed with the homeroom teacher. They were truly a bunch of irresponsible teachers. Dami was then summoned to the disciplinary committee. The teacher didn't give her a chance to explain, only forcing Dami to confess. Dami said that Moni knew everything, but Moni wasn't at school at the time. She was signing a contract with Dami's biological mother. The two scheming individuals immediately took a liking to each other. Meanwhile, Dami was forced to drop out of school. She left school heartbroken, and her heart condition relapsed. Just then, her adoptive father arrived, embracing and comforting her. But in the eyes of others, he became Dami's illegitimate child, making her guilt even more inexcusable. The gang members also took the opportunity to secretly photograph her. To fabricate a new story, her adoptive father promised to help Dami get justice. First, he would sue the person spreading the rumors, but Dami had a different solution. She begged her foster father to trust her. He reluctantly agreed to his daughter's request. That evening, Dami went to find Moni. Since Moni wouldn't answer the phone, Dami told her not to think she could escape. Dami gave Moni one last chance. She had to go to school tomorrow and explain everything to everyone. Moni started manipulating Dami again, saying she considered her a good friend and asking her to help her one last time. But what about my life? You're the one who ruined it. Dami threw the beanie at Moni. She knew Moni had deliberately given her this to turn her into a copy and then shift all the blame onto her. Moni was speechless, exposed. Dami angrily turned and walked away, leaving Moni with a furious look in her eyes. At that moment, Director Jiang arrived at the bar, unaware that Dushu was already waiting there. Dushu overheard his conversation with his subordinate and learned that the girl, Dan Mei, whom he had met at school, was not Director Jiang's mistress. Moreover, Dushu had helped Director Jiang with a major matter. Hearing Director Jiang's entire plan, Dushu felt extremely remorseful and guilty towards Dan Mei. While Director Jiang was in the restroom, Dushu kicked the door open and stormed in. He then threw Director Jiang onto an ancient stone pedestal, but instead of restoring its original shape, it became even more distorted. Afterward, he shoved Director Jiang's head into the toilet bowl. Finally, Director Jiang begged for mercy, promising to pay Dushu the full amount. Dushu then used a voice recorder to force Director Jiang to confess all his crimes. From hiring him to stage a fake murder to harming Dan Mei, Director Jiang was dumbfounded. "What does your business with me have to do with that girl?" he asked. "Just do as I say," Director Jiang said, but he only confessed half of it. Suddenly, the flight attendant burst in and dragged Du Huck away to escape. Director Jiang's henchmen discovered that he had ordered them to obtain the recording at all costs. The henchmen immediately chased after Dushu. The flight attendant took off her shoes to run faster. She then hid Dushu in a house, intending to lure the henchmen away. There, Dushu reunited with his mother and younger brother, who had been helped to escape by the flight attendant. To avoid retaliation from Director Jiang, Dushu was moved when he reunited with the two. Meanwhile, Grandpa took Dame to the doctor's hospital to check if she had ever been pregnant. The doctor discovered that Dame was still a virgin. However, out of resentment towards her biological mother, she acted against her conscience and lied to Grandpa, claiming she had given birth. Previously, Moni, posing as Dami, had visited this hospital for a prenatal checkup. The doctor knew the truth but didn't report it to Grandpa. Instead, she wanted Grandpa to hate Dami. She actually succeeded. Grandpa, enraged, threw water in Dami's face, and the little girl could only beg him to believe her. Jia Hai also didn't believe the test results and wanted to take Dami to another hospital for further examination. The doctor shamelessly continued to say that she was pregnant with Grandpa's child, and that he didn't want a granddaughter who would bring shame upon him. Jia Hai told Grandpa not to believe the doctor, but Grandpa was old and his mind was a little muddled. He was overjoyed at the prospect of becoming a father again. This time, it was the doctor's turn to look at Jia Hai with a smug expression. After returning home, Jia Hai immediately vented her anger on her daughter. A mother should have believed her, should have hugged and comforted her. But Jia Hai kept forcing Dami to get tested. To prove she had never been pregnant, people only believe what they want to believe. The more shocking the truth, the more it attracts gossip mongers. If you want to prove your innocence, you need evidence. Even your own mother doesn't believe you. "I can't bear this anymore." The little girl will tell her grandfather the truth, that it was Jia Hai who abandoned her, not that she was lost as her mother had claimed. Unexpectedly, Dami still remembers everything that happened 15 years ago. Back then, Jia Hai discovered his daughter had a congenital heart condition and took her to see her biological father, asking him for money for treatment. But her biological father turned out to be a wealthy, dissolute playboy. He only saw Jia Hai as a fleeting pleasure. He advised Jia Hai to abort the pregnancy, but Jia Hai deliberately gave birth to the child to cling to a wealthy family, so now she has to take responsibility herself. Meanwhile, her biological father absolutely refused to acknowledge Dam M. Later, he suffered karmic retribution, contracting genital warts and dying. Jia Hai, heartbroken, took her daughter and left her alone on a bridge. Hearing the little girl crying out for her mother, Jia Hai's heart ached, but her hatred for the unfaithful man had turned her into a cruel mother. Now, Dami had given her a chance to redeem herself. But in the end, the little girl was disappointed. "Mom, don't expect to receive a single penny from Grandpa. Dami wants to go back to her adoptive parents, not to let her biological mother continue to exploit her. Those were the people who truly love her." Seeing her daughter disobeying her, Jia Hai became enraged, grabbed Dam Mi by the neck, and pushed her into the fish tank. Dam Mi, filled with resentment, got up. From now on, there was no more mother-daughter relationship, and she resolutely left the house. Afterwards, she returned to her adoptive parents' home. She sat down and confided in her adoptive mother. Regarding what she had gone through, Dam Mi felt that she was a burden to the family. Because the adoptive parents incurred debt to pay for the little girl's surgery, the adoptive mother comforted them with affection. In fact, it was thanks to the little girl that the adoptive mother had hoped to continue living. Back then, after getting married, the adoptive mother discovered she had difficulty conceiving, having suffered 5 miscarriages. She considered suicide, but fortunately, the adoptive father encouraged her, saying that children are a gift from God and that if it's meant to be, they will surely meet. Kuai-kwa's adoptive father decided to take his adoptive mother on a trip. It was at that time that they met Dami, who had been abandoned. The adoptive parents carried Dami around, searching for her biological mother. But no one claimed her, believing her to be a gift from heaven. They took Dami in and raised her. When they learned of Dami's congenital condition, they spent all their savings on surgery for her. When they didn't have enough money, they borrowed from everywhere. Finally, the surgery was successful, but it left a large scar on Dami's chest, which made her feel self-conscious. So, her parents decided to get the scar tattooed, saying it was their family's identifying feature. Dami had a very happy life if it weren't for the appearance of her biological mother. Meanwhile, the live streaming group had formed a fan club called the Red Letter Club, led by director Zhang's henchmen. They broke into Dami's adoptive parents' house to expose the truth about the adoptive father's relationship with Dami. Despite seeing a very happy family photo, they still fabricated a story that Dami had been cared for by her adoptive father since childhood to serve his perverted needs. Indeed, the more sensational the story, the more attention it attracts. The next day, Dami's adoptive father took her to school to request a reopening of the disciplinary committee, giving Dami a chance to clear her name. Unexpectedly, Fan Kwong's gang blocked the door, preventing them from entering the office, even spitting and insulting the adoptive father, calling him a pervert. The adoptive father, trying to clear Dami's way, retaliated, and they seized the opportunity to beat him up. The school remained indifferent to the external turmoil, and the principal even came up with a way to show himself to be magnanimous. Instead of forcing DME to drop out, they would ask her family to write a withdrawal letter themselves. The homeroom teacher eagerly volunteered. The vice principal felt she was being overly enthusiastic about this matter. Later, the homeroom teacher went to the address on the file. Jia Hai had provided her grandfather's address. Her only remaining relative was also listed under his name. When the homeroom teacher saw Jia Hai leaving the house, she assumed Jia Hai was Dami's mother. But Jia Hai immediately denied any responsibility, saying she didn't know the girl. At this point, she went to see the principal, requesting a reopening of the disciplinary committee meeting, but he refused. The principal insisted that someone had witnessed the birth, and that person was her homeroom teacher. Only then did Dami realize that the person who fabricated the story was her homeroom teacher. Dami wanted to confront her homeroom teacher, so the vice principal immediately called her, but she made excuses and refused to return. Afterward, Dami devised a plan to break into the broadcasting room. She wanted to clear her name, stating that Moni was the one who gave birth. Everyone was shocked. The principal hurriedly broke down the door and dragged Dami out of the broadcasting room. Her friends also flocked to watch the drama unfold. Just then, Moni appeared. She asked everyone to stop, to not hurt Dami any further. Moni will reveal the truth to them. Dami thought Moni had finally changed her ways, but unexpectedly, she was dealt a painful blow. Mai fabricated a story that Dami had asked her to keep a secret. Dami's feelings for her adoptive father weren't based on a father-daughter relationship, but rather romantic feelings. Moni even had proof of her pregnancy, which was in Dami's locker. Unexpectedly, Moni had left behind Dami's maternity dress along with her pregnancy tracking booklet. She had previously stolen Dami's ID and gone to prenatal appointments in Dami's name. With this compelling evidence, Dami found it even harder to clear her name. She was expelled from school by the principal. Amidst everyone's contempt, they all ganged up to humiliate Dami. Unexpectedly, Du Shu appeared and took Dami away from the scene. Du Shu had originally intended to take the audio recording he obtained from director Jiang to the police station to report him and clear his name. But when he thought of Dami, his conscience kicked in. He wanted to atone for his mistake. Afterward, Du Shu took Dami to the riverbank. She confronted Du Shu, accusing him of being the reason Dami was in this predicament. Du Shu was there to rectify that mistake. He told Dami that the people spreading rumors online were director Jiang's men, but Dami held no grudge against them. Du Shu then recounted the incident at the hotel, where someone dressed similarly to Dami and wearing a name tag was seen. Du Hak wanted to know who that person was, and Dami immediately thought of Moni. Now, only she could be the key to resolving the problem. Just then, Dami received a call from her grandfather. He felt guilty and wanted to help his granddaughter, but couldn't directly intervene. Her grandfather sent Dami the address of a support center where she could find help. Dami politely thanked her grandfather and immediately set off with Du Hak. Unexpectedly, a car blocked Du Hak's path, and both were surrounded by Director Zhang's men. Du-hak cleared a path for Dami to escape. Du-hak was very skilled in combat. He knew how to get away. He easily subdued the thugs and even punched Director Jang. Unexpectedly, Director Jang had come here to deliver a message. Du-hak's mother and younger brother are in danger. The barmaid who once helped Du-hak has now betrayed him. He and Director Jiang immediately set off to rescue his mother and brother. They arrive at the harbor, where the barmaid's men have prepared 2 coffins, trapping Du-hak's mother and brother inside. Du-hak wants to know why the barmaid did this, and it turns out she's working for Mr. Kang. Because Du-shu betrayed Kang, she wanted revenge on Kang's behalf. Du-shu, however, claimed that Kang had helped him escape, only so that Du-shu could witness the deaths of his mother and younger brother. That was the proper punishment for a traitor. The female employee ordered the coffins thrown into the sea. Du-shu attempted to jump in to save his mother and brother, but was knocked unconscious and then thrown into the sea as well. Director Jiang stood aside, watching the drama unfold. It turned out that everything was Director Jiang's plan. To make Du-shu hate Mr. Kang, Director Jiang kidnapped people at the bar, used them to threaten the female staff, forcing her to comply with his demands and concoct this charade. Then, Director Jiang pretended to be a good person, rescuing Du-shu, his mother, and his younger brother. He said he highly valued Du-shu and wanted to recruit him to work under him. Du-shu compromised and returned the voice recorder to Director Jiang. Du-shu's first task was to completely ruin Mr. Kang. Afterwards, Du-shu decided to go to the police station to confess, saying that Mr. Kang had hired him to kill Director Jiang in order to make Mr. Kang rot away in his closet. Meanwhile, the doctor, still uneasy about Ga-hai after eliminating Dam Mi, decided to publicly reveal Dam Mi's biological mother's identity to the Red Letter Group online. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. A gang of thugs were looking for the doctor to collect a debt. It turned out she had been tricked by her ex-husband into taking on a 2 billion dong debt and was now trying to cling to the wealthy grandfather. Waiting for the old man to let him inherit the property, the thug threatened to tell his grandfather about it. If she refused to pay, she threatened him with scissors. "If I die, you won't get a single penny," she threatened. The thug had no choice but to give her more time. At the same time, Jia Hai held a press conference to introduce a new actress, Moni, in her upcoming film. Speaking of the sacred bond of motherhood, Jia Hai was also very impressed with this film, but no one knew that both women in front of them were fake mothers who had abandoned their children. A male reporter inadvertently brought up the topic, mentioning that Jia Hai was Dami's mother. Jia Hai immediately became furious, drawing everyone's attention. She whispered softly into reporter Nam's ear, "Do you think you're rich enough to stand up to me? If not, then shut your mouth." The reporter merely sneered contemptuously. As Jia Hai left the press conference, someone unexpectedly climbed into her car. It was Du Hong, the owner of the Red Mail channel, who, having learned that Jia Hai was Dam Mi's mother through the doctor, used that information to threaten her. The Red Letter Society currently has a very good reputation. If he were to publicly reveal this, Jia Hai would certainly be dragged down into the mud. To prevent that from happening, she had to utter a word of silence. Du Hong left his business card, giving Jia Hai time to think, then left. Jia Hai was furious, blaming everything on him again. She just wished Dam would disappear quickly. At this point, Dami arrived at the support center as directed by her grandfather. The staff there already knew about Dami's situation. They wondered what she needed help with. Dami wanted all those who had wronged her to pay the price they had paid. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Afterward, all those who had harmed Dami received the same message. "I'm giving everyone one last chance to admit their mistakes. Otherwise, I'll expose everything." At 7 p.m. in the Seoul Cultural Forest, everyone who received the message was in a panic. Not knowing what Dam Mi ultimately wanted to do, they all started to get anxious. The first was her biological mother. Jia Hai decided to call Du Hong, asking him and the Red Letter Society to find a way to stop her and make her disappear if possible. She even offered 500 million to kill her daughter. Moni also informed Director Jiang. Dami was about to publicly reveal their affair, so Director Jiang packed his bags and left. The doctor also began to leave her grandfather's house. All eyes were on Seoul Cultural Forest. Meanwhile, Dam Mi's adoptive father went to school to teach, only to be met with a protest from the students, who accused him of being a pervert, raising his daughter to satisfy his own needs, and therefore had no right to teach them. All the students boycotted class, and the adoptive father sat dejectedly in the lecture hall. Suddenly, he received a call from his wife, asking if he had contacted Dame, as it seemed she was about to do something. Just then, the police arrived and arrested my foster father. Someone had accused him of attempted murder. My foster mother was extremely worried, but she couldn't do anything to help. Finally, she decided to run to the Soane Cultural Forest on her own. My foster father, after being detained, was released by the police chief, who said it was all a misunderstanding. My foster father wanted to quickly find Dame, but the police chief insisted on offering him a drink before he could leave. The foster father had no choice but to comply. However, as soon as he left the police station, he felt dizzy and lightheaded. A man claiming to be the driver the foster father had called immediately pulled him into the car. That evening, everyone gathered at the Soane Cultural Forest to gossip. At exactly 7 o'clock, Dami appeared on the big screen, saying she was the victim, but unexpectedly, Dami turned around and accused someone. Her adoptive father threatened and coerced her into having sex, leaving everyone stunned. Only her adoptive mother couldn't believe what she'd just heard. Dami begged everyone to save her, otherwise her adoptive father would kill her. At that moment, Dami recoiled in fear. A gunshot rang out, and everyone thought Dami had died, so they rushed towards the sound. But only Dami's adoptive father was lying there, unconscious, while Dami's body had vanished. News of Dami's death spread quickly. The grandfather was furious and ordered his secretary to find everyone involved in his granddaughter's death. Then he called the prosecutor, asking them to arrange a meeting with Dami's adoptive father. My foster father was taken to the police station. The police chief made a shocking announcement. While in custody, he had stolen a gun, the same one found at the crime scene. They also found a hallucinogenic powder called zombie drug in his system. The next day, the police found more zombie drug marked on the window of my foster parents' house. In reality, this was all orchestrated by the police chief. The case was quickly concluded. The adoptive father was a drug addict who had engaged in inappropriate behavior with his daughter. Because this was exposed, he resorted to the drug-fueled attack. Even now, the adoptive father is still not sober and cannot deny the accusations, so the police chief pressured him to sign a statement to quickly close the case. But Inspector Minute found several inconsistencies. It took 7 minutes to travel from the square to where Dami was murdered. Given her condition, where could her adoptive father have gone without the police being able to find him? Furthermore, apart from a small pool of blood, no other bloodstains were found at the scene. The police chief immediately dismissed Inspector Min's entire reasoning. They had to take the foster father to the detention center because someone was waiting for him. The prosecutor helped the grandfather arrange for him to meet the foster father for a few minutes. The grandfather questioned the foster father about why he killed Dami and where he had hidden her. The foster father denied killing Dami and said he was also looking for her. The grandfather angrily kicked the foster father to the ground and had someone drag him out. By chance, Grandpa saw the scar tattoo on his foster father's chest and seemed to understand something. At this time, Du Hong went to see Jia Hai to collect the agreed-upon amount, but he discovered that there was only 1 billion N million left.
Yahi imeditan questioned Du Hong.
Could he really have been drunk? Du Hong gave an evasive answer. The girl was dead, so he considered his mission accomplished. He gave Jia Hai another half day to deliver the remaining 500 million. Otherwise, the truth about the biological mother hiring someone to abduct her daughter would be exposed. Jia Hai also wanted to know one more thing. Who had revealed that she was Dam Mi's mother? After learning that it was the doctor, Jia Hai immediately went to find her, only to discover that she had just taken a pregnancy test, which showed only one line. She lied to Grandpa about her pregnancy. Jia Hai wanted to report it to Grandpa. The doctor advised Jia Hai to calm down, saying that now that Dam Mi was dead, Grandpa had no heir and wouldn't give them any money. Therefore, they had to cooperate to get his inheritance. And her fake pregnancy was their only option. Jia Hai wanted half of the inheritance, and the doctor agreed. That evening, when her grandfather returned home, her adoptive mother unexpectedly rushed out and blocked his car. She wanted to ask her grandfather to find someone because she really couldn't ask anyone else for help. Her adoptive mother showed her test results, confirming she had never been pregnant. She had run to various hospitals, searching for evidence to prove her innocence. Dami's adoptive mother also showed her grandfather the tattooed scar, explaining its origin. Both her adoptive parents love her, so her adoptive father would surely not harm Dami. Her grandfather still felt confused as to why everyone had turned their backs on Dami. Her adoptive mother didn't know, but they all wanted to disappear. Perhaps the little girl knew their secret. Grandpa seemed to understand something. He then returned to his room to rest, and inadvertently saw the pregnant doctor drinking heavily. She quickly explained that she was grieving over Damie's death and hastily made an excuse to leave. Just then, the secretary came to see Grandpa. He had already investigated. The person spreading the defamatory rumors about Damn Me was a criminal with a prior record. Grandpa was furious. Now even criminals were brazenly demanding to find the truth? The secretary even took a picture of him meeting and receiving money from Ji-hai. Grandpa wanted to know what kind of transaction the two had made, and finally, the secretary produced Dami's wallet from a scene. Inside was an envelope containing the first money Dami received from her grandfather. She still kept it, not daring to spend it. Her grandfather deeply regretted treating Dami badly. He wanted all those who had harmed his granddaughter to pay the price. First, the man who spread the rumors, Du Hong, was arrested by his secretary and brought to her grandfather. His limbs were tied to the truck. Any attempt at deception would result in immediate dismemberment. Du Hong had no choice but to admit that Hai had hired him, but he wasn't the one who committed the murder. He still had the audio recording on his phone. It captured his conversation with Gao Hai, in which his grandfather was furious that his granddaughter dared to use his money to kill him. Grandpa also wanted to know why the Red Letter Society had targeted Dami from the beginning. Du Hong obediently confessed that the mastermind was Director Jiang, and he didn't know the reason either. In the end, Grandpa still dragged Du Hong by the leg, and then Grandpa continued to send people to hunt down Director Jiang. He was blocked by the bodyguards, so he got out of the car and started cursing. But when he realized the group was targeting him, Director Jiang quickly got into his car and fled. The secretary couldn't catch Director Jiang and had to return to apologize to his grandfather. His grandfather insisted the secretary bring him back, whether alive or dead. Next came Damie's wicked biological mother. His grandfather ordered the secretary to recover all assets registered under Ji-hai's name, and finally, the cunning doctor. The next day, my grandfather invited a doctor to the house to examine the doctor's wife, who was extremely anxious and kept gesturing to the doctor. Since they were acquaintances, the doctor congratulated my grandfather, saying that the doctor's wife was pregnant with a son. She breathed a sigh of relief. But in reality, the son was just a signal the doctor was sending to my grandfather. How long are you going to keep deceiving me? Grandpa exposed the fake pregnancy and the fact that she falsified the test results for Dami. Grandpa also knows that she's burdened with her husband's debts. If she wanted money from Grandpa, why didn't she just ask him instead of harming his granddaughter? When the doctor saw that her deception was exposed, she turned against him, calling him a stingy person. Would she really give him money? It's precisely because Grandpa values money above all else that Dami lost her mother. Think back, if you had trusted the girl from the beginning, would all this have happened? Grandpa was so wronged he couldn't argue, so he ordered the doctor thrown out. The secretary acted decisively, seemingly having disliked her for a long time. Meanwhile, the family continued to check online for updates, trying to see if the girl was really dead, but they still couldn't find her body. Suddenly, the assistant rushed in to announce that her grandfather had demanded the return of the investment in the film project and confiscated Jia-hai's house. Jia-hai was still wondering what exactly her grandfather knew. Just then, she received a call from her grandfather. He only said one sentence: "You used the money I gave you to kill my grandson, so I will use all the remaining money I have to force you to your death." Jia-hai was immediately plunged into endless fear. She hurriedly called the doctor, informing her that her grandfather had begun his revenge plan for Dan Mai. They needed to cooperate, and the two met at Jia-hai's house. Just then, someone from the real estate agency came to view the house. Jia-hai refused to see them. What belonged to her would forever remain hers. The doctor didn't know what to do next. Jia-hai wondered if her grandfather had revised his will yet. The doctor suddenly remembered that her grandfather had promised to leave her a lot of property. What if she could have a child, and her grandfather didn't have time to revise the will? Jia-hai's expression immediately turned dangerous. At this moment, her adoptive father was taken to prison. In prison, those convicted of sexual misconduct were the most despised. As soon as he entered the cell, the foster father was warmly greeted by his fellow inmates. Coincidentally, Kang was in the same cell as him. Kang told the other inmates to be quiet, and the unruly guy with the bun hairstyle was given a good beating by Kang, becoming as obedient as a puppy. Meanwhile, the foster mother left home, beginning her journey to seek justice for Dan Mi and her husband, but she encountered resistance from Fan Kwong's gang. They burned an effigy and insulted their foster father in front of the door. The woman upstairs couldn't stand it anymore and poured water on their heads. She was Du Shu's mother. After Du Shu confessed and went to prison, Director Jiang arranged for her to stay here, and she intervened to help when she saw injustice. Later, his foster mother visited his foster father, who was only concerned about whether DME had been found yet. The foster mother reassured the foster father that the grandfather had agreed to help them. The foster mother was trying to get the foster father out of the closet, asking him if he remembered anything about that day. The foster father only had fragmented memories, but he had never used the zombie drug. The foster mother knew that. However, the police found the drug on their window. She only remembered one person who had ever been to the house, and that was the police chief. Her adoptive father also remembered that he had forced him to drink water, possibly laced with zombie poison. Her adoptive mother would talk to her grandfather about this, hoping her adoptive father wouldn't give up. Later, her adoptive mother went to the school. She wanted to find the female student who had argued with Dam M, but the homeroom teacher refused to reveal anything. She had previously told the students to keep quiet, as if afraid the secret would be exposed. The foster mother pleaded with the students to tell her if they knew anything. The homeroom teacher quickly asked the security guard to escort the foster mother out. Disappointed, she returned home, only to be unexpectedly confronted by a female student. This girl was arguably the prettiest and most intelligent girl in the school, unaffected by Moni's deception. Knowing she was innocent, she gave her foster mother a video recording of Moni exposing the truth in the broadcasting room. She hoped it would help. Following Moni's directions, her foster mother found information about Moni's workplace. She stormed into the meeting room, exposing Moni in front of the film project investors. Although Moni vehemently denied it, they didn't like working with someone involved in a scandal. The director decided to replace the actor for the film. Moni, having no other choice, had to seek help from director Jiang. But now, he was too preoccupied with his own problems to care about himself, as director Jiang had already sent people to investigate. He discovered that the group that attacked him were people working for Damie's grandfather, a renowned tycoon. Director Jiang couldn't just sit idly by and wait to die. He ordered all his close associates to gather and fight a decisive battle with his grandfather. Now, he had absolutely no mind to pay attention to Moni. Finally, Moni remembered the mysterious person, but that person wouldn't answer the phone. He wasn't someone you could just meet whenever you wanted. Moni decided to go see Jia Hai. Coincidentally, Jia Hai was also looking for Moni to unilaterally terminate the contract. But Moni refused, wanting Jia Hai's help in exchange for absolute loyalty to Jia Hai if the deal was successful. At this time, a lawyer came to see the foster father, saying he was sent by the grandfather. The grandfather was about to hold a press conference to announce that Dam Mi was his granddaughter. There, Grandpa would also help my adoptive father clear his name. But my adoptive father had to go to the house of the person who wronged him to find the evidence himself. Grandpa had arranged for my adoptive father to get out of prison. He just needed to follow the lawyer's instructions, and indeed, my adoptive father could easily get out without encountering any obstacles. Later, he went to the police chief's house. After harming his foster father, he was immediately promoted to chief. Although it wasn't yet time for a personnel change, his foster father discovered that the chief was using zombie drugs. Just as the chief had finished showering, his foster father rushed over and beat him up. Someone powerful must have been behind this, otherwise, he couldn't have been promoted so quickly. My foster father wanted to know who that person was and where they had hidden Dami. The police chief sneered, "That person is beyond your reach. You'll never find Dami." My foster father, enraged, chained him unconscious. He called my grandfather. We found evidence at the police chief's house. My grandfather wondered, why was my foster father allowed out? Didn't he help me? My grandfather was confused. He hadn't sent a lawyer to see my foster father, so whose lawyer was that? The lawyer was currently tied up in the meeting room. After being, the prison guards rescued him, but he claimed he had been attacked by his foster father and then escaped. The guards immediately mobilized forces to apprehend him. At the same time, Grandpa arrived at the meeting place with his foster father, which was near a suspension bridge. As Grandpa stepped onto the bridge, he was intercepted at both ends by Jia Hai and the doctor. They had been following Grandpa the entire way. Waiting for the opportunity to strike, the two men worked together to push their grandfather off the bridge, sending him tumbling down the cliff, fracturing his head and causing him to bleed profusely. They smiled in celebration of their victory, then fled the scene together. When their adoptive father arrived, the area was surrounded by police. Unexpectedly, he had fallen into another trap. His adoptive father was convicted of murdering their grandfather. The police, prosecutor, and lawyers all gave the same testimony, leaving the adoptive father with no way to defend himself. The three of them were blood relatives. After the grandfather's death, the doctor cried incessantly, but it looked incredibly fake. She even smiled brightly when no one was looking. What she was waiting for was her grandfather's will. The only two surviving relatives were invited to the house, where the lawyer delivered the will. Grandfather only gave the doctor 100 million dong and the house. Jia Hai received nothing. Now the doctor even has to share half of it with her. Both of them thought the lawyer had misread the will, so where had the rest of his assets gone? It turned out that grandfather had converted all the real estate into cash. Both of them seemed to realize something and immediately ran to the warehouse where their grandfather had hidden the money. But the place had been thoroughly cleaned. Their grandfather had lived long enough. To deal with the two cunning women, he had deposited all his money in the bank. In fact, their grandfather wasn't dead. After being transferred to the hospital, he used his last ounce of strength to give instructions to his secretary about the plan. Afterward, the secretary mixed porridge with a corpse and took Grandpa out of the hospital. No one could have imagined Grandpa's next plan. Meanwhile, Du Shu confidently left the courthouse. After his confession, Director Jiang kept his promise and hired a good lawyer for Du Shu. Coincidentally, Du Shu saw his adoptive mother, Dan Mei, still searching for her daughter. Xiao Kui looked very pitiful. Du Shu intended to help her, but unexpectedly, Director Jiang appeared. He invited Du Shu to celebrate his release on bail, though Du Shu still felt a pang of guilt. However, when he got drunk, he couldn't remember anything. That evening, someone broke into his foster parents' house. They were Director Jiang's men, and his foster mother had been drugged. They doused the house with gasoline and sealed the doors. The self-immolation plot by Duong Fan was orchestrated. Because Du Hak had developed a sense of compassion, Director Jiang wanted him to suffer the consequences. Even arranging for Du Hak's mother and younger brother to stay upstairs in Dam MS foster parents' house was part of Director Jiang's plan. The fire engulfed the three of them. When Du Hak returned home, his mother and younger brother had both passed away. During the funeral, Du Hak heard rumors that his foster mother had set herself on fire. His mother and younger brother were tragically caught in the crossfire. Overwhelmed with anger, Du Hak vandalized his foster mother's memorial room. She had already had no one to mourn her, a truly desolate situation. Upon hearing of his wife's death, his foster father felt he no longer wanted to live. The only thing holding him back, perhaps, was the fact that he hadn't yet found the magic wand. His foster father tried to escape many times but failed, and was thrown back into solitary confinement and beaten. He sharpened a toothbrush and used it to cut through the wire mesh, acting recklessly. Kang then signaled his subordinates to take his foster father into the kitchen and teach him a lesson. His foster father resisted and stabbed himself with the toothbrush. Kang told him that if he was brave enough, he should die with his wife and daughter. Kang even lent him a knife, but his foster father didn't dare to die. Next came a terrifying ordeal. Kang poured boiling water on his foster father, disfiguring his face. He was then taken to the hospital. In reality, Kang was just following orders from someone else. That person was my grandfather. After my adoptive father was hospitalized, my grandfather swapped places with him. Taking my adoptive father's place in prison, my grandfather knew he didn't have long to live. He didn't have enough time, and he was too old to avenge Damie. Because after falling down the cliff, he had broken 5 ribs. He wanted to use the most ruthless method to ensure his adoptive father would never forget the revenge, and also to use all his abilities to repay the debt owed to his adoptive father and Damie. Afterward, his grandfather gave all his money to Kang, asking him to share a portion with his adoptive father and help him on his path to revenge. Because of severe burns to his face, his adoptive father underwent facial reconstruction surgery. Kang also fulfilled his promise to his grandfather, giving his adoptive father 10 billion VND as capital for revenge. 5 years later, with that 10 billion VND, his adoptive father expanded his business and became a successful businessman named Matthew, distinguished by his silver hair. His company is successful in all fields, especially high technology. Matwa created the Tiki Taka app, connecting millions of users, including those who had harmed Dami years ago. Now they are all living good lives. Mai, under Gahi's management, has become a famous actress, bringing in many advertising deals for the company. Moni, in particular, is the face of Tiki Taka. Thanks to this, Jahi's company also rose to the top of the entertainment industry. Jahi and Moni even called each other mother and daughter, being very close. However, the ghost of Dami still haunted their minds. Today was the day Kang was released from prison, and also the day Mat Thu began his revenge plan. Because today was the anniversary of Dami's death, Mat, under the pretext of celebrating Tikiaka's founding, invited 36 special guests to a party on Jew Island. Moni's popularity was undeniable. She was revered like a queen. The more joyful they were, the more disastrous Mathwy's fate would be under the storm of revenge. He was ready to become a monster. At this moment, Moni was still cheerful, showing off her glamorous life online. She enjoyed the complimentary comments. Suddenly, a comment caught Moni's eye. Today was the anniversary of Dami's death. She was instantly shocked. At the same time, the doctor came to see Gar Hai. After their failed attempt to seize her grandfather's property, the two had gone their separate ways. But today, during their meeting, she had something she wanted to ask of her, which was to use Moni as the face of her maternity hospital's advertisement. Jia Hai disagreed, so the three doctors brought up the past. Jia Hai herself had abandoned her own daughter to her death. She was furious, warned the doctor to keep quiet, agreed to let her see Moni, and then left. Later, Jia Hai approached the director, explaining that they were business rivals but were now willing to cooperate. Jia Hai wanted to become Tikiaka's representative, which would secure her tens of billions in investment for her film. If successful, she would share the profits with director Zhang. Matt is a mysterious figure who has never revealed her face. Director Zhang managed to find someone who could locate Mathwy. That person was Du Huck. He had obtained some information about Matthew and learned that Mathwy would also be coming to Jew Island. This was an opportunity for Gar Hai to approach Mathwy. However, they were completely unaware that Mathwy was observing their every move. At this time, Moni was having a meeting with Fan. Como, the former homeroom teacher, unexpectedly appeared. Seeing Sang Bat Kwong making a fuss, Moni also put on a fake act. She thanked her former teacher. Ms. Como wanted Moni to help her daughter become a child actress. Moni, however, loudly declared in front of everyone that acting roles weren't obtained through connections. Trying to appear refined, she whispered something into Moni's ear. "Do you remember what day it is today?" She gave Moni a painting. It depicted Moni giving birth in the art studio. Moni angrily tore the painting to shreds and ran back to her room to take sleeping pills. The ghost reappeared, detaching its head and giving it to Moni, causing her to faint from fear. At the same time, someone at the party saw the figure of a girl wearing a white woolen hat, exactly like she was 5 years ago. He frantically chased after them, but couldn't catch up, so he reported the matter to Director Jiang. He and Du Hong were two of Director Jiang's subordinates, and they had formed a red-letter society. Hearing that Dam Mi was still alive, Director Jiang insisted that she was truly dead. So could it be Dam Mi's ghost? Du Hong also remembered that today was Dam Mi's death anniversary. Director Jiang immediately reminded both of them to watch their mouths. Meanwhile, Jia Hai returned to her room and saw that Moni was still unconscious after taking sleeping pills. She scolded Moni, asking why she dared to use such things. Everything Moni had today was thanks to Jia Hai's efforts, so Moni had to have Jia Hai's permission for whatever she ate or drank. Mai apologized and threw the sleeping pills into the trash. Now she felt like a bird trapped in a cage. Jia Hai asked Moni to see the doctor, reminding her not to agree to anything the doctor said. Moni obeyed. However, the doctor reminded Moni not to forget who had examined her during her pregnancy. Moni suddenly remembered and felt uneasy. Afterwards, she changed her clothes and went to the party. On the way, Du Hong unexpectedly blocked Moni's path. He knew about Moni's relationship with Director Jiang and mistakenly thought they were lovers. Du Hong had also long desired Moni, and he approached to harass her. Suddenly, Du Shu appeared and kicked him, telling Moni to go ahead, as he needed to settle something with his old subordinates. Du Hong was beaten so badly that his teeth and lips were all mixed up, and he immediately mentioned Brother Kang. Didn't Du Shu also betray Brother Kang? Du Shu felt a pang of compassion and decided to forgive Du Hong this one last time. Meanwhile, the pool party had begun. To avoid spoiling the mood, Jia Shi announced that the hotel staff had been given the day off and all security cameras had been turned off so that guests could enjoy themselves as comfortably as possible. Unexpectedly, what they were playing was drugs. Someone had secretly put zombie drugs in the drinks and the swimming pool. Du Hong, in a fit of excitement, smashed glasses. He went berserk and started attacking others, including Director Jiang, the gang leader. Du Hong approached Moni and announced that today was Dam's birthday and that he was the leader of the Red Letter Society. Everyone's cheerful expressions suddenly turned somber. Du Hong didn't want to settle things with Moni anymore. He hadn't gotten anything out of it yet. Jia Hai claimed that Moni and Du Hong had accidentally pushed him into the pond. The group, stimulated by the zombie drug, couldn't control themselves and unintentionally drowned Du Hong. By the time they realized it, it was too late, so they all sat down together to figure out a solution. If the hotel staff discover the body tomorrow, they'll all be in jail. Some will still deny the crime, claiming they didn't drown the woman, but who will testify? No one wants to go to jail alone. Director Jiang suddenly remembered that there were no security cameras here. If the body disappeared, no one would be able to investigate them. GH suggested burying the body, arguing that throwing it into the sea would easily cause it to drift ashore. Du Huck then offered a suggestion. He knew of an island not far away, but one with very few people passing by, which he considered a suitable place to hide the body. Jia Hai demanded a vote. Anyone who disagreed would be accused of being the murderer. They all understood that siding with the majority would lead to the same fate as the Dempsey. 5 years ago, everyone quickly raised their hands. Then they moved the body onto Director Jiang's yacht. Matt also instructed the AI to begin the plan. Another puff of smoke was released onto the yacht, making everyone feel exhilarated, unable to control their hunger, and they ate heartily. Suddenly, the Aurora Borealis appeared outside, further exciting them. Soon the yacht arrived at the island, a beautiful and magnificent place with fruit trees and even unicorns. Everyone considered it a lucky spot, but before they could see any luck, the ship drifted away. Jia Hai wanted to call for rescue, but the chief said it was their secret. If others discovered the island, they would know they had murdered someone and hidden the body. Someone suddenly appeared, having taken a selfie at the dock and managed to get the number of a private rescue boat. Director Jiang thought all he needed to do was bribe them, and they would keep quiet. So Moni stepped in to call the rescue team, who would arrive within an hour. Their job was to quickly hide the body. 3 doctors discovered a cave, and together they carried the body inside to bury it. However, leaving the body exposed made it vulnerable to detection and the possibility of it being swept away by the waves. Director Dan then came up with the idea of burying the body in stones. Jia Hai was the first to agree, saying that since they had come this far, they had to see it through. Everyone else reluctantly agreed. Director Zhang concluded her speech with a huge rock. While waiting for the rescue ship, the doctor recalled a legend about the island, that there was a monster there, a truly crow-mouthed creature. Just as she finished speaking, someone fell and had their blood sucked out, inadvertently waking a whole flock of bats that were sleeping soundly. They swarmed out and attacked everyone, causing the whole group to flee. Some people were bitten to death by blood-sucking creatures. The girl begged Director Jiang for help, but he only stole her backpack and left her to die. As soon as they escaped the cave, they encountered a rock slide. Several people were blocked by large rocks. Director Jiang suggested that Moni go first because she had influence, and then each person would try to escape. Finally, only Director Jiang and the chubby woman remained. Director Jiang suggested counting to 3 and then letting go, but he only counted to 2, leaving the chubby woman to be crushed to death by the rocks. They thought everything was over, but as soon as they sat down to rest, they encountered a pack of man-eating wild boars, and several more people were gored to death. The police chief hid in a crevice in the rocks, thinking the wild boars couldn't do anything. "You think you're so tough? Go ahead and ram me." Unexpectedly, he rammed through the rocks in pursuit of the police chief. He then pulled a girl aside as a scapegoat, and together with the others, retreated safely. After a while of running, everyone was parched. Director Zhang found a bottle of water in his backpack and was about to drink it alone when the police chief spotted him. The two whispered to each other, but Du Huck saw them. Du Huck made him divide it among everyone. The whole group lined up, each taking a sip, but one girl selfishly drank the whole bottle. The doctor was furious and was about to give her a beating. Just then, another girl inhaled the poisonous flower and died. What kind of cursed place was this? Everyone was terrified. Suddenly, there was a strange noise above. A man approached them. He was the rescue worker who had been called in. The rescuer asked why they were lost, but no one dared answer. Jia Hai urged him to do his job properly, and the rescuer then led them out of the area. After that, he guided everyone through a thorny forest. Unfortunately, Moni was injured, and the rescuers immediately bandaged his wounds with handkerchiefs. However, Their next destination wasn't the dock, but a swamp. Everyone thought the rescuer was joking, but he said they would get there after crossing the swamp. Moni tried to explore, only to find it was a man-eating swamp. They quickly pulled Moni out of the swamp, but the dock was only a short distance away. Jia Hai immediately devised a plan, using the later arrivals as stepping stones to cross the swamp. The plan was quickly put into action. The later arrivals, unaware of the danger, waded into the swamp, while the remaining people quickly used whatever weapons they could find to kill the stepping stones and then crossed over. The rescuers just stood there indifferently, as if they had anticipated this. After crossing the swamp, they found a few wells, and, being thirsty, drank heartily. Suddenly, the monster appeared. It was the embodiment of the murdered people. They had come here to claim their mother. Fear was of no use. Director Jiang immediately urged everyone to charge forward, each lending a hand to eliminate the monster. Later, when Moni regained consciousness, she discovered her hands were covered in fresh blood. The monster was gone, replaced by her former teammates. They realized they had killed someone, but everyone shirked responsibility, and the group continued to bury the matter. Director Jiang was about to take another sip of water when he discovered the well was full of maggots and human bones. They all felt nauseated, except for the chief, who still saw clean water. Everyone thought he was hallucinating. Just then, a rescue worker appeared. Why had he disappeared? He explained that he had found a faster route, and the group followed the rescue worker, but they still couldn't reach the pier. I thought the rescuers were tricking them. He kept saying they'd be there a little further. Just then, the water from the waterfall rushed down, sweeping them all to the shore. The rescuers tried to wake them up, but unexpectedly, the boat had also been swept away by the waves, leaving only a small raft big enough for 7 people to leave the island. But now there were 13 people, and they all exchanged glances. Understanding each other's intentions, they scrambled towards the boat, pushing and shoving, even trying to kill one another. They all wanted a chance to survive. In the end, only 7 people got into the boat, with the rescuer swimming after them. Without him, who would be the driver? But if he got into the boat, it would sink. Jia Hai Hien decisively smashed his hand and pushed him to the bottom of the sea, after which the 7 returned to the hotel. They had to quickly clean up the scene and corroborate each other's statements so that the police couldn't investigate. However, upon returning to their rooms, they discovered that each room contained a threatening letter stained with blood, claiming to know all their secrets. Director Jiang and Jia she suspected Du Hong was responsible, so they searched his room. They found zombie drugs and gathered all 7 of them. Director Jiang speculated that Du Hong might have drugged them, making everything that happened last night a hallucination, but Mon still had a wound on her hand, confirming that everything on the island was real. They had all committed murder, but no one wanted to go to jail. Then the police chief stepped forward and revealed his true identity. He had a way to handle the case. He suggested that everyone say he didn't attend the party, so he wouldn't become a suspect and thus wouldn't have the authority to investigate the case. But no one agreed, believing the chief wanted to get away with it alone. The police chief had no choice but to devise a plan for everyone to clean up the scene and stage a scene so the police wouldn't find any clues during questioning. First, they had to clean up the swimming pool and erase yesterday's security camera footage. Jia Hai and Du Huck burned the pile of clothes they had worn. Director Zhang dealt with the boat, and inadvertently discovered that the advertising sign for the private rescue boat had disappeared. Later, when the hotel staff arrived, the 7 people gathered again to eat and drink, acting as if nothing had happened. Following the prearranged script, Jia Hai asked the hotel manager to wake everyone up. The manager went around and then returned to announce that no one was in the room, but the belongings were still there, suggesting it might be a missing person case. When the police chief intervened, he called his subordinates to investigate. The 7 people gave very consistent statements, leaving the police with no clue as to what might have happened. However, the police found Director Zhang's yacht along with the bodies of 28 people on the island, leaving everyone bewildered. Clearly, everyone should have been in a different place, so why were the bodies piled up in one spot, and one body was missing? Unfortunately for them, there was a witness. That day, a female employee arrived at work early and accidentally discovered Jia Hai burning the pile of clothes. The police found a handkerchief that hadn't been completely used and demanded an explanation from her as to why she had a man's handkerchief. Just then, Matt Thu appeared, claiming it was his. He said he had thrown it in when he saw Jia Hai burning trash. Jia Hai was shocked that the person she had been longing for had come to her rescue. Matt Thu wanted to accompany the police to the island to investigate the crime scene because he was the sponsor of the party. The police chief also went. Jia Hai, representing the organizing committee, requested to go along. Those who remained felt anxious. Even though 2 people from their side had arrived at the scene, they began to suspect each other, who left the threatening letter in the room. At this moment, Jia Hai saw Matthias standing on the deck and approached him to ask why he was helping to get out of trouble. Because Matthias hated the police, who always thought they were right. Jia Hai intended to explain the origin of the handkerchief, but Matthias didn't need it. He wanted to hear more lies. They arrived at the island. The surreal scene from the previous night had vanished, replaced by the stark reality of a desolate and terrifying island. She discovered that the cave where they had hidden Du Hong's body was gone, and his remains were not among the water. The police found zombie drugs, suspecting that the deceased had held a drug party on the island, then inhaled and smoked each other's stuff. The ringleader, Du Hong, had fled. The police continued to take the 3 people to examine the crime scene. At the swamp, Matt Thu suddenly jumped into the water and retrieved a bracelet. It was Jia Hai's bracelet. She immediately felt anxious. After accompanying the police to examine the crime scene, Jia Hai and the chief returned to inform everyone. The island last night was just an illusion. Du Hong's body has disappeared. Could he have come back to life? Director Jiang also knows something strange. The private ship's advertising sign is gone. Tried checking the call logs with the rescue team, but there were no calls at all. Could he have been hallucinating too? But she insists he was real. The handkerchief the police found belonged to him. Moni screamed in fear. She thought it was Dami's curse. Suddenly, Mathwi opened the door and came in, announcing that everyone could go home. He had finished talking to the police. Everyone had to thank Mathwi. It was thanks to him that the matter was resolved so quickly. Mathwi had also arranged a private jet to take them back. After finishing his business, he left. Jia Hai hurriedly chased after Mathwi. She wanted to negotiate about the position of Tikiaka's representative, but Mathwi had already chosen someone. He couldn't go back on his word. Jia Hai remained determined to win the position, because she was an ambitious woman. Unexpectedly, Jia Hai received a phone call. The incident on Jeju Island had reached the hands of the journalists. As soon as Hai and Moni arrived back at the company, reporters surrounded them. Faced with a barrage of questions from the reporters, Jia Hai declared that she would sue them if they deliberately tried to damage Moni's image. Following this, Jia Hai immediately called a meeting, instructing her staff to find a solution. Jia, who had sided with Dami years ago, now works under Dami. She has a way to resolve this. That evening, Jia returned home and found Moni having a nightmare. Moni confessed to killing Dami. On the day Dami announced she would reveal the truth in the Soan Cultural Forest, Moni arrived to find her before 7 a.m. Mai wanted to persuade Dami to stop, but the girl refused. In a fit of rage, Moni hit Dami on the head with a rock. She feared Dami was still alive and returning to take revenge on them. Otherwise, why did what happened on that island occur? Who sent the threatening letter?
Yahi advis Moni tokam dao.
She had to remember that she hadn't killed anyone, nor had she ever given birth. Dami certainly did. But Moni didn't want this nightmare to repeat itself. For the past 5 years, she had endured it intensely every day. Jia Hai reminded her of where she was now. If she wanted to return to her past low social status, Jia Hai wouldn't hold her back. Jia Hai called Moni's mother to remind her of the reason why everything started. The moment she saw her mother, Moni was pulled back into her impoverished past. Having to live with her 2 unruly younger brothers, and her mother enduring so much hardship, she resolved never to let that life repeat itself. The next day, Moni went to the company and asked the 2 managers to leave. She wanted to talk to Jia privately, discovering that Jia had written a new song and wanting it to be her own work. It turned out that for the past 5 years, all of my songs had been composed by Jia. She was the one with real artistic talent. Moni realized this, which is why she took Jia on as a student. However, Jia didn't want Moni to sing this new song. She wanted to dedicate it to someone special. Jia also wanted to become a singer. Moni then smirked, saying that Jia was a high school bully. Don't even dream of becoming famous. Only by working for her can Jia fully showcase her talent. Jia reluctantly continued working. She helped Mai hire a theater troupe to impersonate the victims' relatives on the island. Moni wept before the victims' memorial, showing sympathy, but was still punished by the victim's family. Later, she asked Jia Viet Cap to post a condolence message online. Ultimately, she was the one who received sympathy from netizens. Although outwardly continuing to act as Miney's henchman, Gia was also secretly training to become a singer worthy of her abilities. Gia had an online friend who always encouraged her whenever she felt tired. Finally, encouraged by her opponent, Gia participated in the K-singing talent competition. Moni was a judge in the competition. She was extremely surprised by Gia's appearance. Because Moni was Gia's superior, for the sake of fairness, the other judges asked her not to score. Unexpectedly, when Gia sang the first melody, the judges unanimously applauded, and Moni immediately realized this was the new song she wanted to steal from Gia. After the audition ended, Moni confronted Gia, asking why she dared betray her. Gia hadn't betrayed her. She simply didn't want to continue being a minion of the devil. Gia revealed the truth from the previous year. Moni had harmed Damie. It turned out Gia was the one who spread the false information about Moni online. Gia regretted not helping Damie, which is why she wrote this new song in her memory. Would Moni dare to sing? Mai was speechless. She warned Jay. If she dared to confront her, she would publicly reveal Gia's secret online. Gia was not only a high school bully but also a juvenile delinquent. She had murdered her own father. Because Moni used this secret to threaten Gia, Gia was forced to work for her. Actually, Gia didn't kill her father. Her father was a drunkard who constantly harassed Gia and her older sister. To protect Gia, her sister accidentally killed their father. But her sister was about to go abroad for her studies and was old enough to go to jail. Gia decided to take the blame so her sister's future wouldn't be ruined. Because they were just young troublemakers and the killing was in self-defense, Gia only received a 1-year probationary sentence. Back to reality, Gia was determined not to continue working for Moni. She should also start pursuing her dreams. Moni vowed to destroy Gia at all costs, just as she had destroyed Damie. Meanwhile, news of the case on the island was being publicly released by the police at a press conference. The main suspect in the case, Du Hong, had lured 28 other people to Buchan Island. Then a mass search occurred. Du Hong is still missing. GH saw the news and, upon seeing the police chief, recognized him immediately. She realized he was the same police officer who had wrongly convicted her adoptive father. Understanding something, Jia Hai immediately called Director Zhang, asking him to investigate whether her adoptive father was still in prison. Director Zhang had no choice but to visit the prison. He bribed the guards to let him see Dam Mi's adoptive father. The grandfather tried to conceal his face, feigning madness and lunging to bite Director Zhang, scaring him so much that he fled in terror, no longer caring who he had just met. Afterwards, Director Zhang falsely reported to Jia Hai that the person he had met in the cell was Dam Mi's adoptive father, and that Kang's men in the cell had also informed Kang about this. He decided to visit Director Zhang, taking the opportunity to collect some old debts. But today, Director Zhang wouldn't kill him. Director Zhang showed contempt, thinking that Director Zhang had just come out of jail and had nothing to kill him with, so he threw money in Director Zhang's face. "Get the money and we'll talk." Director Zhang immediately ordered his henchmen to intimidate him. Without money, could this power base be rebuilt? Director Jiang began to feel apprehensive. Then Kang returned to report to Mathwi that Director Jiang had begun to have doubts. Mathwi had also prepared his next plan, targeting the 7 survivors of the island incident. They had to pay special attention to the department head. 5 years ago, he colluded with lawyers and prosecutors to force his adoptive father into prison. This was undoubtedly orchestrated by a mysterious figure. His grandfather gave his assets to Mathwi to help him build his current power base, also to give him enough strength to fight against this mysterious figure. This mysterious figure, possessing defake technology, used it to orchestrate the case 5 years ago, turning his adoptive father into a criminal. The person in the video isn't actually Damie. Where exactly has the mysterious person hidden Damie? Is she alive or dead? Matu must find out the truth. Meanwhile, a painting exhibition is being held. Taking advantage of her position managing a high-quality class, she's pressuring parents to buy paintings at high prices in exchange for helping their children get into Seoul University. Outwardly, the parents appeared friendly to Ms. Mo, but secretly they badmouthed her behind her back, calling her a singer mom, accusing her of seducing other people's husbands, and claiming her paintings were worthless but sold at exorbitant prices. Ms. Mo overheard their conversation but didn't turn against them, because she needed to buy her paintings to sustain her livelihood. Ms. Mo was deceived by her boyfriend, resulting in twins. Her teacher's salary wasn't enough to support the 2 children, so she devised this scheme to extort bribes. Ms. Mo's daughter acted exactly like her in class, grabbing classmates' hair and pulling teachers' skirts, but at home she cried to her mother, claiming she was harassed by a classmate, and even asked her younger brother to cover for her. At this time, Jia Hai went to see Do-hak, asking him to investigate the agent that Matt had chosen, and then find a way to bring him down so that Jia Hai could take his place. Do-hak worked very efficiently and quickly found a scandal involving the agent. He had an illegitimate child with a woman who owned a hair salon. Later, Do-hak went to the hair salon and accidentally saw the agent's son mistreating an employee. Seeing his mother's reflection in the image, Do-shu angrily punched the other person a few times. He also took the opportunity to snatch a few strands of hair, bringing them back for Jia Shi to verify their paternity. Incidentally, Do-shu also gave Jia Shi a special gift, the place where Matt frequently appeared. Matt liked surfing in his free time. Jia Shi would approach him and try to flirt with him. Thanks to Matt's guidance in this subject, she pretended to fall into the sea so that Matt would jump in to save her. She thought she had charmed Matt, but it was all part of his plan. Jia Hai wanted them to take things a step further, and Matt pretended to reciprocate. But at that moment, Jia Hai's phone received a notification. The doctor asked her to meet at the restaurant. Jia Hai immediately ran to the restaurant. The other 6 were already there. They wanted to know what Jia Hai had gathered them for, but Jia Hai hadn't sent any message. The doctor hadn't messaged Jia Hai either, so they began to suspect each other. Suddenly, the outer door slammed shut, trapping them inside, and all 7 were terrified. At that moment, all the lights went out, and a coffin fell from the ceiling. The brave chief stepped forward to investigate, only to find that inside was Dai Du-hong's body. They were all terrified. A video played on the screen in which Dami said someone had killed her. The doctor thought Dami was still alive and had returned for revenge, but director Jiang insisted that Dami was dead, because he was the one who had helped Moni hide Dami's body. Could this be a ghost? Du-shu advised Dami to confess, so that innocent people wouldn't get involved. That day, Du-shu was detained at the police station, and the chief also claimed he wasn't at the scene. The 7 people began exposing each other's secrets. Director Jiang was the one who ordered Du-hong to form the Red Letter Society. He said it was to help Nai. The doctor also exposed Moni's pregnancy, using Dami's identity to attend prenatal checkups. She had planned everything. The police chief still tried to deny any involvement, but Jia Hai exposed him. He was the one who drugged Dami's adoptive father and pushed him into the closet. Do-hak wanted to know who instigated the police chief, but the chief absolutely refused to speak. The plan to find the mysterious killer was also thwarted. The other 7 continued to think about how to dispose of Du-hong's body. Leaving it there would certainly lead to discovery. If the police found the cause of death, they would be implicated. Du-shu knew of a private crematorium nearby, so they decided to have Du-hong's body cremated there. 7 people stood guard to prevent the creature from escaping again. Only after confirming it had turned to dust did everyone leave in peace. Only Jia Hai and the doctor remained. The doctor said that whoever brought the parasitic creature from the island must be a powerful person. She had received a threatening letter at the hotel accusing her of killing her grandfather. Ya He Fao Biu Wu. Only she and the doctor knew about it. The doctor also said there was another person, her grandfather, and if it was him, he would have ample financial resources. To fabricate this whole story, the doctor insisted that her grandfather was still alive. The money they couldn't find last year was being used by him for revenge. But that fall was enough to break several bones for Grandpa. Where would he get the strength for revenge? Jia Hai suddenly remembered someone, Dam Mi's adoptive father. They gradually figured out the connection between the adoptive father and Grandpa. Du-hak had overheard everything, and then Jia Hai had Du-hong's ashes dumped in a pile of rubble. Doing so for someone who was already dead was acceptable. Seeing this, Thu felt nothing unusual. That was her true nature, and she would surely meet a similar end later. Moni sneaked out in the middle of the night, and Jia Hai followed her. Kang also followed both of them. It turned out Moni went to see the prosecutor. 5 years ago, after fabricating the case of his adoptive father, he had been promoted to chief prosecutor. Moni wanted the prosecutor to contact the mysterious person. The prosecutor then led Moni away. Jia Hai tried to follow but got a flat tire, leaving her furious. Kang immediately returned to report to Mathwi. As they predicted, Moni couldn't sit still any longer. Mathwi began gathering information about the prosecutor. He believed that the prosecutor wasn't the end of the story. There was someone else behind him. Matt wanted to use the other 7 people to find this mysterious person. The next day, rumors of Ga-hai and Matthew dating spread widely online. This was great news for Ga-hai. Just then, she received a call from Matthew. Ga-hai excitedly went to Tikiaka. Matthew announced that her agent was involved in a scandal, having a child out of wedlock, so the position of agent was currently vacant. GH thought she was the only suitable candidate, but Matthew exposed her, accusing her of exploiting his image to create dating rumors online. Matthew advised Ga-hai not to use such dirty tricks. If she wanted to be a representative, she had to prove her real abilities. Ga-hai was so humiliated she didn't know where to hide her face, and Matthew bluntly fired her. She was furious, and just then she received news that Moni had stolen someone else's song. Ga-hai rushed back to the company. Moni still insisted she hadn't stolen Gia's song but had bought it with money. Ga-hai could accept her lack of talent, but she couldn't accept her having so many secrets. From what happened 5 years ago to this, Ga-hai decided to terminate Moni's contract and sell her off early for a good price. Meanwhile, Inspector Minute went to see the police chief, having found a clue. In the case on Jew Island, Inspector Minute discovered that someone had tampered with the evidence. The police chief was one of the suspects and therefore could not continue to be involved in the case. Inspector Minute would reinvestigate from the beginning. The police chief was caught red-handed. He anxiously grabbed his secret phone and texted the prosecutor for help. That night, Inspector Minute was working when he unexpectedly received a call from his wife, saying something had happened at home. Inspector Minute rushed back, but unfortunately, he was involved in an accident on the way. The truck driver got out, confirmed Inspector Minute was dead, and immediately reported it to his boss, who turned out to be the mysterious masked man. It turned out that the call Inspector Minute had just received was from a mysterious impersonator, who possessed advanced technology and was a formidable opponent of Mathwi. The next day, news of Inspector Min's accident spread. Mathwi immediately recognized it as a ploy by the mysterious person. It was time to expose him. Mathwi wanted to use the other 7 people. However, they weren't just sitting idly by waiting to die. Director Jiang had investigated and found that the 29 people who died on the deserted island were members of the Red Letter Society. He was the one who prepared the list of participants, and it was possible that some force had interfered, altering the list to avenge Dami. She also secretly suspected that it was her grandfather and adoptive father. Director Jiang prepared a special phone and gave one to each of the 7 members of the group because he suspected their phones were being monitored. Meanwhile, news arrived that Ga-hai had terminated her contract and sold her to other entertainment companies. At that moment, she received a call from the prosecutor. It turned out that the mysterious person had investigated Hai's secret and discovered that she was Hai's biological mother. Moni resorted to any means necessary to tightly bind her interests to Hai's. Afterward, she contacted Hai, inviting Ga-hai to a restaurant for dinner, still putting on a show of being a close mother and daughter. Ga-hai immediately reminded her, "If there's something important, just say it quickly." Moni then revealed that she was about to be acquired by Tiki. At a price of 100 billion, Ga-hai burst out laughing. Because Matho hated people with dirty private lives, but nobody in this world is perfect. Everyone is living and acting at the same time. And Mai exposed Ga-hai's true identity. She is Dami's biological mother. The room Ga-hai gave to Moni used to be Dami's room, and it was Ga-hai who abandoned her daughter there. Ga-hai still wanted to deny it, so Mai gave her a promise to keep the secret forever and help Ga-hai become Tikiak's representative. All Ga-hai had to do was help her solve her problems and keep her secret. Ga-hai still intended to refuse, not believing Mon could do it. Just then, Matt appeared, and Moni put on a confident expression. Unexpectedly, Matthew actually offered Ga-hai the position of Tikia's representative. She liked it very much but was still sulking. Matthew had to kiss her hand to apologize first. Very quickly, she accepted the role. Afterwards, Ga-hai returned to the company and instructed the staff to handle the scandal of hiring someone to write Miney songs. They spread rumors that Gia was a bully in high school. Her former homeroom teacher, Ms. Mo, even testified. In return, she would let her daughter become a child actress. Gia couldn't deny the accusation. She was also attacked by a mob who stormed her house and smashed her piano. Gia felt helpless and didn't know what to do. Luckily, she still had her online friend by her side, encouraged Gia to believe in herself. Don't let evil have a chance to run rampant. Unexpectedly, this online friend turned out to be Matt. At this time, Matt invited Gia to his house to express a formal apology and congratulate her on the cooperation agreement. Matt pretended to bait Gia. The two exchanged greasy lumps of phlegm. Unexpectedly, Jia Hai received a phone call. Moni had helped her arrange a meeting with the prosecutor. Jia Hai had no choice but to let Matthew have his way. But in reality, this was when Matthew's plan continued. He sent 7 letters to 7 people. Each letter contained a secret. They had to immediately arrange a secret meeting. Jia Hai, while meeting with Kong Tu, also exposed someone behind Kong Tu. She wanted to lure Kong Tu to Vung Lei to use him as a scapegoat for her and Moni. But Kong Tu wasn't an easy target. He revealed a secret to Jia Hai. Her grandfather was still alive, and Jia Hai wanted to know where he was, a place no one would ever imagine. That's why no one has been able to find Grandpa for the past 5 years. Then Jia Hai left the restaurant. Suddenly, an arrow shot in front of her. She received the letter in the most unusual way. Jia Hai hurried to the meeting point with the other 6. They checked the room thoroughly to make sure there were no listening devices before continuing to discuss their plan. Jia Hai revealed the truth. Her grandfather was still alive and collaborating with her adoptive father to avenge Damie. But where was he? Director Jiang immediately realized that the person he met in prison might be her grandfather. The clever Du Shu then devised a plan that would both capture her grandfather and lure her adoptive father into revealing himself. First, the chief, disguised as a prison guard, brings poisoned food to the grandfather to get him out of prison and to the hospital. The grandfather's people in prison will surely contact the secretary. They will take advantage of this opportunity to capture the secretary and the prison guard, torture them, and force them to reveal the whereabouts of the foster father, while others lie in ambush at the hospital. Just in case her adoptive father appeared to save her grandfather, the doctor couldn't resist going to check on him. For the past 5 years, she had been wondering where her grandfather had hidden his enormous sum of money. So, while her grandfather was lying alone, she disguised herself as a doctor and went to see him. Unexpectedly, her grandfather was still conscious and greeted his former lover with the insult animal. She only wanted money, but Grandpa absolutely refused to say anything. She tried to drug him to make him confess, but he grabbed her by the hair. Suddenly, someone rushed out of the cell, sprayed her with pepper spray, and shoved her back inside. Then, he subdued the guard and took Grandpa away. The assailant was a very skilled off-road motorcycle rider. It's likely Grandpa's guts were also ripped off after this incident. Facing the police pursuit, he easily dodged and weaved his way through them, bringing his grandfather to safety. On the other side, despite being brutally tortured, the secretary and the prison guard remained steadfastly loyal. At that moment, a group of people burst in, beating Director Jiang and the chief of police just as they had done to the secretary and the guard, before safely escorting them away. Director Jiang recognized them immediately as his men. He hadn't expected to be tricked so badly. It was all part of Matt's plan. Before the police chief delivered his grandfather's meal, Matt had gone to see him, saying that 7 people had spotted his grandfather's location. Matt wanted to use them to get his grandfather out of prison. At this point, the person who saved Grandpa also revealed himself. It turned out he was Du Shu. 5 years ago, after escaping from prison, Matt went to find Du Shu. Because his family had implicated Du Shu's family, Matt felt very guilty. Du Shu angrily beat Matt up, after which Matt told Du Shu the truth. The person who harmed Du Huck's family was Director Jiang. Du Huck immediately wanted to seek revenge on Director Jiang, but Matthew said that Director Jiang had an even more powerful backer. If Du Huck went alone, he would only be doomed. Matthew wanted to cooperate with Du Huck because they shared a common enemy. In the case on Jeju Island, Du Huck was the one who put the poison in the drinks and the swimming pool, and also the one who lured everyone to the deserted island. Returning to reality, Du Huck contacted Matthew, arranged a meeting place for the exchange of people, and brought his grandfather to them. On the way, Grandpa unexpectedly heard news about a newly planned urban area, and he immediately remembered the mysterious person who had entrusted him with that urban development project. Grandpa asked Du Shu to turn the car around and go to the planned area. Du Shu didn't understand what was going on, but seeing Grandpa's anxious expression, he complied. He also reported this to Mathwi. The other 6 also discovered their grandfather's travel route. Unexpectedly, Jia had cleverly attached a GPS tracker to their grandfather. Now, if they could catch up with their grandfather, they could meet Dam Mi's adoptive father. At this moment, Du Shu had already taken their grandfather to the planned development area. Suddenly, he received a call from Director Jiang, who asked Du Shu to gather everyone together. But Do Huck was uneasy leaving his grandfather alone. His grandfather advised Do Huck to go ahead, saying he could wait for Matwa there. To avoid arousing suspicion from the others, Do-hak had no choice but to return. Afterward, his grandfather approached the well and, unexpectedly, found a skeleton at the bottom. He immediately recognized it as Dami's skeleton. Finally, after 5 years, he was able to find his granddaughter. The grandfather was filled with remorse, believing he was responsible for Dami's death. The other 7 arrived at the scene. Director Jiang wanted to kill the grandfather, but she stopped him. They still had to wait for Dami's adoptive father to appear. Moni discovered a skeleton next to the grandfather and a time bomb in the well.
Du-huk immédiately informed Kang.
Kang advised Matthew to stop the car. If they went to rescue his grandfather now, Matthew's true identity would be discovered, and his revenge plan, meticulously crafted over 5 years, would be ruined. But Matthew disagreed. Although he desperately wanted revenge, he was still human. He couldn't let his grandfather die in vain. Unexpectedly, upon arriving at the scene, Grandpa signaled to Matthew to ignore him. He wanted to protect Matt, and also wanted to stay by Dami's side forever. Matthew tried to stop Matthew, but in the end, the bomb exploded, sending Grandpa to meet Dami. Matthew was devastated, and the other 7 noticed something unusual and rushed towards him. But Kang managed to get Matt into the car, leaving only Kang's identity exposed. GH knew Kang was once a close subordinate of their grandfather, so they weren't surprised. They only regretted not being able to meet Dam Mi's adoptive father. The police were about to arrive, so they had to retreat. After returning to the base, Do-hak was exposed by the group as Dam Mi's adoptive father's informant. He was absent throughout the entire operation. Do-shu explained, "There was something important I needed to do." She then offered another clue. The person who took Grandpa away wasn't with him, indicating an unavoidable situation, because Do-shu had to return to them. Just then, Do-shu received a careful message on his phone. They became even more certain that Do-hak was a spy. The whole group checked Do-hak's phone. Luckily, Matt came to his rescue. Because Matt managed the Tiki-Taka app, he easily deleted all the messages on Do-hak's phone and replaced them with a pre-prepared message. "Be careful, your hair is about to fall out." Finally, Do-hak had an excuse to refute the accusations and escape everyone's suspicion. The next day, news broke that Dami's adoptive father had escaped from prison and been killed in a bomb explosion. Another skeleton was found nearby. Forensic examination confirmed it was the skeleton of Dami, who had gone missing the previous year. Police believed her adoptive father had hidden the body in a well, making it easy to find. Matt was heartbroken upon hearing the news, unable to believe her daughter was truly dead. Now he's lost another close relative, his grandfather. Matt wants the person behind this to pay the price. Matt wonders why Do-hak brought his grandfather to the development area. It turns out his grandfather told Do-hak the truth. The mysterious person behind all this is the tree, the son of the chairman of the Sim group. Matthew then asked ChatGPT to search for information about the tree. He was a genius in the field of technology, a former American student and the initiator of deepfake technology. On the surface, he seemed gentle and charitable, but behind the scenes, he was a ruthless killer. He was considered the demon lord who ruled from the shadows. 5 years ago, the tree was married, which is why he couldn't publicly acknowledge his relationship with Moni and had to hiss to silence her. Finally, Matthew understood why his grandfather insisted he build a career. Only with strong potential could he fight against a demon like the tree. Do-hak also recalled something. His grandfather was the one who told Dami to go to the support center of the Chan group. Here, Dami encountered the weasel and was gradually led to his death. Perhaps because of his grandfather's remorse, he wanted to stay by Dami's side in his final moments and refused to leave. Matt felt it was time for the weasel to pay for all its crimes. Matt wanted to use the other 7 people to gradually lure the weasel into the light. On the other side, the doctor also guessed a few things. Jia knew Moni had given birth but still agreed to sign the contract with her, possibly because her lover was a powerful figure. The doctor wanted to know who that person was. I begged Jia not to reveal it. It turned out Jia had guessed long ago. He was the heir to the Zhangtran group. 5 years ago, Moni and Qi were dating, and unfortunately, she became pregnant, but she still had ambitions for fame. Moni began targeting Dami, using her as a stand-in. When Dami tried to expose everything, Moni met her privately in the Soan Cultural Forest and smashed her head with a rock. Afterwards, she asked Director Jiang to clean up the scene, which was accidentally witnessed by Du Hong, who then took Dami to Ji. Dami begged her biological mother to save her, but Ji-hai heartlessly made a decision, asking Du-hong to make Dami disappear. While Du-hong was dealing with Dami, someone suddenly knocked her unconscious. The culprit was the same person who had taken Dami to another location and then fabricated a story to deceive everyone into believing that Dami's adoptive father had killed her. He then arranged for someone to bring Dami's father, who was grinding medicine, to where he had hidden Dami. Afterward, he used a police gun to put in the adoptive father's hand so that he could kill Dami himself. The tree wanted to witness its foster father's helplessness and suffering, while the foster father was incredibly excited. All of MW's memories had returned. That's why he couldn't forgive the tree. Suddenly, a system warning appeared. The tree had discovered Mathwi and was sending him a challenge. Mathwi was forced to join the hunt. The next day, Matt held a press conference, officially signing a contract with Ga-hai. Some reporters were curious about their relationship. Matt also subtly acknowledged that he now had another solid support system. Mai was extremely pleased, but unexpectedly, she received a phone call from her younger brother. Unexpectedly, Moni's family had returned to the country. Someone had booked their plane tickets. Moni was extremely worried and insisted that his family stay put. But his arrogant younger brother refused to listen, and it turned out that Matthew was the one who brought them home. Du-hak also managed to take a picture of Moni's family. Meanwhile, Jia-hai and director Zhang were celebrating. Because they had signed a multi-million-dollar contract with MW, Jia-hai suddenly mentioned the tree, causing director Zhang's expression to change immediately. He advised Jia-hai not to reveal the name of the tree, otherwise both of them would die. Just then, Moni ran in to announce that her family had returned to the country. She asked Jia-hai to help resolve the situation, but Jia-hai immediately felt confused. Who had called them back? That evening, the 7 of them were having a party at Matthew's house. Before leaving, Moni unexpectedly received a phone call. Jia couldn't stand being ostracized. She demanded that Moni delete all the posts online, threatening to reveal Moni's secret if she didn't comply. Unexpectedly, Jia also knew about the existence of the tree. She witnessed the tree and Moni having an affair outside the hotel. Just then, Jia-hai walked in. She snatched Moni's phone to try and calm Jia down. Ji promised to help Jay become famous, but Jay didn't want to be manipulated any longer. She decided to go see Chairman Sim to report his son's affair with Moni. After the matter was settled, Chairman Sim even instructed his subordinates to escort Jia back to her bed. Meanwhile, Matthew's party had already begun. 7 people were happily eating and drinking. Unfortunately, the department head accidentally let slip something. They cursed the doctor, calling her a murderer. Suddenly, Matt became enraged, smashing a glass and demanding to know what the 7 people were hiding from him. Matt showed them a video, claiming it was sent anonymously, but that he had actually filmed it himself. It recorded the entire event on Jejuo Island, and they were the murderers. Matt demanded they reveal their secrets, or he would report them to the police. Everyone was in a state of panic, and no one would admit to the crime. Du-shu had no choice but to speak up. It was all because of Dam-mi's adoptive father. Jia, she decided to tell the whole story. There was nothing left to hide now. She wanted to use Matt to find Dam-mi's adoptive father. Matt, however, had a question. If the adoptive father wanted revenge for Dam-mi, it meant one of the 7 people present was the murderer. None of them would admit that the culprit was someone else. Mathwi still wanted to see if they would reveal the name of the tree. Moni promised to reveal it. If Mathwi sided with them, the police were already knocking, and they didn't have much time left. Finally, Jia-hai was the one who revealed the tree's identity. Once Mathwi knew the name, it meant he had been drawn into their fold. Jia-hai begged Matt-thu to help them, saying only his power was strong enough to fight the tree. Matt-thu agreed on one condition: they had to use their most precious possessions as collateral. Matt-thu couldn't trust their words, so he would help them find Dami's foster father and see if he was the vengeful madman they claimed him to be. No one could think much of it. They reluctantly agreed to sign the contract with Mathie. Now someone else would go find the foster father of the noodle-making business for them. But there was still a problem. Someone else knew about the existence of the plant. The 7 decided to go to Jay's house to try and silence her. But their efforts were in vain. Jia was already dead. The whole thing was staged as a self-inflicted wound, with a warning written on the mirror that anyone who uttered the tree's name would die. It turned out that Chairman Sim was also a cruel man. He always tried to cover up for his son. With the backing of a powerful corporation, The tree dared to act so brazenly. Everyone was terrified. They quickly erased all traces at the scene and fled. Afterward, the group returned to base to discuss the situation. The tree was a cold-blooded killer. Now their lives hung by a thread. Some considered calling the police, but even the police couldn't protect them. The way Jia was killed was the clearest example. Du Shu mentioned MTHW again. It was true that only MTHW could help them now. They had to find a way to win him over to their side. When Du Huk returned and informed Mathy, Jia had been killed by the tree spirit. Mathy deeply regretted advising her to become a singer, which had dragged her into this mess. Mathy feared Du Huk would become the tree spirit's next target and advised him to withdraw. But Du Huk still had a revenge to exact and wouldn't leave Mathy to burn alone. If we are going to die, we'll die together. The two embraced like two selves. When the next part of the plan was put into action, the first target was Director Jiang. Du Shu broke into his office, stole business documents, and sent them to an actor in the company. It turned out that over the past year, Director Jiang had embezzled more than 30 billion yuan in employee salaries. The actress immediately wanted to confront Director Jiang. At that moment, Director Jiang had just returned home and was hastily packing his belongings, intending to elope with Ma Dan Nuo and her daughter. Ma Dan Nuo wondered if her biological parents wanted to reclaim their daughter. Director Jiang was terrified upon hearing her daughter's name. He warned Ma Dan Nuo to be careful, saying that they might both die because of their daughter. It turns out that 5 years ago, the child Moni was born alive and was cared for by Madame Nuo, entrusted to Director Jiang's care. The two lived together as husband and wife, though they were not actually married. Madame Nuo was Kang's mistress. She hated Director Jiang, but had to endure it for the sake of her daughter. Conversely, Director Jiang was deeply in love with Madame Nuo, willing to confront anything for her. The next day, as soon as Director Jiang arrived at the company, he was confronted by a female employee who presented evidence that he had embezzled money. Director Jiang was speechless. The employee demanded that he repay all the actors within a week, otherwise she would report him to the prosecutors. The total compensation amounted to 30 billion yuan. Director Jiang had no choice but to ask Du Huk to borrow money for him. He was about to receive payment from Tikiaka's contract and promised to repay it within a week. Seeing that his prey had fallen into the trap, Du Huk brought the lender to meet him. Director Jiang was only allowed to borrow 10 billion, and if he wanted to borrow more, he would have to mortgage his company. Having no other choice, he reluctantly agreed, unbeknownst to him, that 30 billion VND actually belonged to Kang. By the time the company was confiscated, it was too late. At the same time, others also faced punishment. She was accused by parents of students of accepting bribes by selling fake paintings, and her past, being dumped by her boyfriend and having 2 children, was also brought up again. She insisted she was the victim, because deep down she still believed this was revenge from Dami's adoptive father. The principal didn't care, demanding she find evidence to prove her innocence. But I'm the victim. Suddenly, Miss Mo remembered Dami from years ago. She was also a victim, but no one believed her. Perhaps this was the punishment she deserved. She was even grabbed by the hair and slapped repeatedly by the parents. After being expelled from school, she went to the elementary school to pick up her children, only to find both of them missing. In one day, she lost her job and her children, the 2 most valuable things she had gambled away in her contract. The doctor was no exception. She had gambled her medical degree. Today, the hospital received a female patient who asked the doctor to forge an ultrasound report. Initially, the doctor intended to refuse, but the patient demanded 500 million VND. Blinded by the money, she didn't realize this was a radio station filming a program about the dark side of the profession. The doctor's falsification of medical records was exposed, including the false pregnancy test results, which reporters dug up. They demanded her medical license be revoked. The doctor decided to seek help from the police chief, but he was too preoccupied with his own affairs. Today was the day the police chief was officially promoted to director, but before he could even set foot in the police station, he was stopped by the prosecutor. They found Maitu on Chief Maitu's person. Only then did Chief Maitu remember that he had just bumped into someone, an associate of Kang. The man had hidden Maitu on Chief Maitu, so Chief Maitu had no choice but to cooperate with the investigation. However, Chief Maitu didn't want to be caught alone, so he decided to drag Kong Tu into the mess, claiming he was merely transporting Maitu for Kong Tu to hold. Prosecutor Kong Tone was summoned and taken for a urine test, and unexpectedly, he was found to have Maitu in his system. It turned out that during dinner with the chief of police the previous night, the chief of police had secretly put my two in the prosecutor's beer. With no other option, the prosecutor sought help from the tree, but the tree decided to cut off his right arm instead. The prosecutor immediately switched to threats. He knew the secret of the tree. It turned out that last year, the tree not only targeted the noodle vendor, but also wanted to harm Du Shu. Because Du Shu was the biological son of Chairman Tsai. The tree wanted Du Shu to disappear forever, so he asked Director Jiang to send Du Shu to prison. The tree had never been threatened before, so he sent his inspector to meet with the prosecutor. The assailant pulled out a gun, and Prosecutor OM immediately understood the implication. He intended to shoot first, but the gun was unloaded, and ultimately, Prosecutor OM was shot dead by the assassin. However, news reports claimed that Prosecutor OM committed suicide out of fear of punishment. The next person to be punished was Moni. What she was gambling on was her reputation and social status. Du Shu contacted a popular online streamer, asking them to expose Moni's true nature. Thus, her lie about having a wealthy mother in America was revealed. Everyone knew she had a mute mother and two younger brothers. Matthew then used this as an excuse to contact Moni, demanding a satisfactory explanation. Tikiaka's image couldn't be tarnished because of her. Moni was extremely worried and called GHI. But Jia Hai didn't answer. She had no choice but to ask Du Hak to find her a fake mother who met all the requirements, a businesswoman and fluent in 6 languages. Du Hak had prepared in advance and quickly found a fake mother for Moni. Then the two of them flaunted themselves in the restaurant for people to take pictures. The rumors naturally disappeared as well. At this time, Mr. Kang came to see Jia Hai. Mr. Kang had once been deeply in love with her, but realizing how ambitious she was, he decided to withdraw. He also couldn't have imagined that Jia Hai would cruelly abandon her own daughter. Jia Hai knew that Mr. Kang was working for Dami's adoptive father, and that he had come here for this purpose as well. Kang wanted Jia Hai to meet her adoptive father, so she immediately went with him. They then went to a villa. Kang confiscated Jia Hai's phone and locked her in a room. Suddenly, all the lights went out, terrifying Jia Hai. A figure appeared upstairs. Jia Hai tried to escape, but the assailant grabbed her and smashed her hand. He was Matt, wanting revenge on Jia Hai for the pain she suffered on the deserted island. She deserved the same punishment for how brutally she had beaten the rescue workers. After Jia Hai regained consciousness, she discovered the wrench on the floor and immediately remembered the rescue workers. Finally, she realized her adoptive father had begun his revenge on them from the island and knew everything. Jia Hai questioned and Kang, asking why he treated her this way. And Kang countered, asking if she had ever thought about her daughter. Jia Hai only cared about herself. Her ambition had blinded her. And Kang advised Jia Hai that if she still had any humanity left, she should report the perpetrator. But she believed that doing so would be tantamount to suicide. Jia Hai completely failed to recognize her mistake and remained determined to kill her adoptive father. Afterward, Jia Hai returned to the base, where the other 6 were waiting for her. They all believed Jia Hai had betrayed them and collaborated with her adoptive father, as she had every reason to do so. Moni revealed her true identity. Jia Hai was Dam Mi's biological mother. Everyone was surprised, except for the doctor who knew beforehand. Kang asserted that Jia Hai wouldn't betray them, because she was the one who had abandoned her daughter to her death. However, no one was convinced. News. In a single day, all 6 people lost their most precious possessions. But what did Jia Hai lose? Jia Hai tried to explain in anguish and helplessness. Just then, Matt appeared, confirming that Jia Hai was not cooperating with her adoptive father, because Matt had found her adoptive father and fulfilled the betting contract. Right here, at this very moment, I am Dami's adoptive father. Matt threw the wrench at the painting, causing everyone to panic. Kang and his henchmen also appeared, helping Matthew confirm his identity. Matt took out the betting contract. They had met Dami's adoptive father, and Matt had taken everything of their value. Matthew had known everything from the beginning, and Du Hak also revealed his identity. He was Matthew's informant. Du Shu lunged at Director Jiang. Why did you kill my mother and younger brother? Was it the order? What was the reason? Director Jiang still refused to speak. Du Shu was about to end his life when Matu stopped him. Director Jiang still had some use. Matu told them that Prosecutor OM had been killed, and the police chief was in a panic. He only wanted to use Prosecutor OM as a scapegoat. The tree, which had been hissing and embracing the prosecutor, immediately confirmed that even its right arm had been discarded. Would the tree forgive them? They then turned to criticize Matthew for killing 29 people on the island, calling him a bloodthirsty demon like the tree. Matthew, however, insisted that he did not kill innocent people. Those 29 people truly deserved it. They were all members of the Red Letter Society, and for the past 5 years they had used fake news to force many people to their deaths, like the poor, innocent little girl, yet no law would stand up to punish them. Matthew had no choice but to take matters into his own hands. Wasn't it only natural that he would retaliate? Moreover, Matthew didn't kill them himself. The 7 people here are the real culprits. Although they were tricked by Matthew, it was their will to live and their cruel, indifferent nature towards the lives of others that were the real weapons of murder. Hai was actually intelligent. He knew there was a reason Matthew hadn't killed them yet. It turned out Matthew wanted to use them as pawns to trap others. But how? They had absolutely no power whatsoever. Jia Hai threatened to expose Matthew's true identity. But she forgot one thing. Dami's adoptive father had been removed from a system. On the day of the bombing, her grandfather died in his place so her adoptive father could complete his revenge plan. Conversely, Matthew knew all their weaknesses. He created the Tiki Taka app to collect all the information on the 7 of them. The secret weakness was exposed. Matthew had ample evidence. He gave them a choice: either cooperate with him to atone for their mistake with Dami, or die at his hands. They had a day to think it over, after which Matthew led his men away. The remaining 6 decided to vote on whose side they would take. Moni still believed her former lover wouldn't kill her, but the other 5 trusted Matthew's humanity. Finally, after the vote, everyone sided with Matthew. Meanwhile, Kang took Du-hak home. Du-hak kept pictures of his mother and younger brother in his room to ease his loneliness, and he hadn't dared to use the money from their funeral donations. Du-hak had learned the truth. His mother had found him in front of the hospital. He had heard this from relatives at the funeral. King wanted to ask Du-hak to investigate Ma Dam No and her daughter to see if she was truly the child's biological mother. Du-hak immediately agreed. The next day, Jia Hai went to see Matthew to make a decision on behalf of everyone. They would follow Matthew's arrangements, in exchange for his guarantee of their safety. But here, Matthew was the one with the final say. Matt began assigning tasks to each person. The doctor's mission was to become chairman-size nurse. The chief of police, posing as a monk, tried to become the chairman's confidant by any means necessary. Sim manipulated his mental health, but the chief of police was a fool. He didn't even understand his own mental state, so how could he manipulate others? Matthew immediately devised a plan. Chairman Sim had a deceased wife, and the department head only needed to pretend to see her to attract Chairman Sim's attention. At the same time, Como had to infiltrate Zhang Chan's art gallery. This was where the corporation's secret fund was kept. Como's mission was to steal that secret fund. This is really too difficult for Ms. Mu. She's a teacher but absolutely terrible at math. That's not the problem, though. Ms. Mu is good at drawing. She just needs to steal the key to the VIP art gallery and replicate the $1 million paintings inside. Meanwhile, Tiki Taka is holding a press conference to welcome a director from abroad. This director just won the Palme d'Or and will soon be writing the script for a film starring Mai. Everyone was incredibly excited, but when the director revealed the script's content, everyone was bewildered. She wanted to recreate Dami's case from 5 years ago, exposing the truth about a powerful conglomerate behind it all, which was tantamount to challenging the Zhang Tra group. Jia Hai was so frightened that she dropped her glass of water, but that wasn't all. Matthew then publicly announced his upcoming engagement to Jia Hai. He was playing dirty tricks. Standing in front of the press, Jia Hai still had to force a smile. After the press conference ended, Moni chased after Du-hak. She deluded herself into thinking Du-hak liked her and wanted to use him as a spy for Matthew. But Du-hak was utterly disgusted by her betrayal of her best friend. Yet she still pretended to be a saint in front of others. Du-shu will wait until the day her true colors are revealed. For now, get out of the way. He left coldly and coolly. Moni was furious and vented her anger on the manager. Later, as Moni left the building, the mute mother unexpectedly appeared, still pretending not to know her. The mute mother communicated using sign language, which no one here knew except Moni. She reluctantly helped everyone translate. The mute mother apologized for causing Moni so much trouble and promised not to bother her anymore. She hoped Moni would live the life she chose. Moni felt deeply guilty, but still refused to chase after her mother. Her 2 younger brothers were angry. and the mute mother reprimanded them. It was because of her younger brother's reckless lifestyle that Moni had to struggle to pay off the debts. Now she doesn't want to burden Mai anymore. It's time for the two brothers to earn money to support themselves. If they both negatively affect Moni, she will disown them. The younger brother couldn't take it anymore, so he contacted a director and asked for a supporting role in Moni's film. He absolutely had to make his sister see the light. Meanwhile, Kang questioned Mathwi. The engagement wasn't part of their plan. Mathwi knew Kang still had feelings for Hai and wanted to test Kang's limits. Mathwi said that the engagement would boost Tiki Taka's stock price, giving them enough resources to compete with the Zhang Trang group. Mathwi didn't want Kang's feelings to jeopardize his 5-year plan. Kang had no choice but to apologize for his inappropriate behavior. After leaving the office, Kang unexpectedly encountered Jia Hai. Recalling their past relationship, Kang, a former thug, had accidentally killed Jia Hai's parents, causing her to harbor resentment and become the person she is today. That incident continued to haunt Kang for a long time. Later, Kang went to see director Zhang, whose company was now under Kang's control. He gave director Zhang the opportunity to be his henchman. When director Zhang tried to attack Kang, Kang pinned him to the ground. Kang knew that director Zhang had met with the prosecutor, and he wondered what secret they had investigated about the tree that led to the prosecutor's death. Director Jiang immediately thought of Du Shu, but couldn't tell Brother Kang. Brother Kang had warned him to be careful, not because he was worried about him, but because he was worried about Ma Dan Nuo and her daughter. He didn't want them to be implicated. Brother Kang considered Ma Dan Nuo like his younger sister. Director Jiang anxiously rushed home. However, as soon as he got into his car, a tree branch strangled him. The tree reminded Director Jiang that it was best not to harbor any thoughts of betrayal. It wanted Director Jiang to keep a close eye on him. Director Jiang was too frightened to disobey. After returning home, Director Jiang wanted to speak privately with Madame Nuo. She reluctantly told her daughter to go to a friend's house for a while. Director Jiang decided to reveal the truth. Madame Nuo's daughter is actually Moni's biological child with the tree. He advised Madame Nuo to stay away from the child if she didn't want to bring trouble upon herself. Later, Du Shu came to find Madame Nuo. Unexpectedly, she and her daughter had moved away. Du Shu immediately informed Kang, causing Kang great concern. He couldn't understand why Madame Nuo had to flee. Meanwhile, Jia Hai returned home and found Moni tormenting herself. She didn't want to take on the role in the new film because she had to play herself, harming Dami once again. For the past 5 years, Moni had been haunted by it. Even the room she was staying in was Dami's room. Jia Hai didn't care. This was Matthew's mission, and if they didn't complete it, they would all die. Moni returned to her room helplessly. She thought of her mother, but immediately erased her mother's image from the mirror. This wasn't the time for weakness. Suddenly, Moni received a time travel code from a tree. She sneaked out, but was still discovered by Ga Hai. Then, Moni went to an alley, scanned the time travel code with her dog-like eyes, and was led to a basement by a beggar. Inside was a secret club. Moni was jostling through the crowd when suddenly someone whispered in her ear. It was the tree. Moni begged the tree to help her kill Matthew, but the tree ignored her. He advised Moni, "Don't dwell on the past, you need to be more classy. Begging an ex-lover is just pathetic." At this moment, the doctor and the chief had successfully approached Chairman Sim, but he recognized the chief. The police chief still tried to lie, claiming he had just attained enlightenment and could see vengeful spirits. He claimed Chairman Sim's wife was unjustly killed because he had seen the killer but refused to tell the truth to the police. It turned out that the tree was the one who killed his mother, as she wasn't his biological mother. Perhaps knowing the truth was what caused her to die. Chairman Sim still doesn't know why he's been so bothered by this for so many years. Du Shu also made a new discovery. Following Kang's advice, he intended to deposit the funeral money in the bank. By chance, clear's throat, Du Shu found an envelope with no sender's name, but Du Shu still had a little memory of it. He once encountered a stranger at a funeral. Du Huk immediately recognized that person as the tree. The tree had killed Du Huk's mother and younger brother, and had even come to the funeral to taunt him. Enraged, Du Huk went to the Tran group. He bypassed the security guards and stormed into Chairman Sim's office. Du Huk threatened him, demanding the tree's location. Unexpectedly, the secretary burst in and injected Du Huk with poison. He had another identity, the tree's inspector. The inspector then led Du Huk to the tree, revealing that the envelope was a trap. He had intended to use Du-hak to lure him in 5 years ago, but unfortunately, Du-hak only opened the envelope now. However, it wasn't too late. The tree relentlessly tormented Du-hak, ultimately delivering a fatal blow. The truth was also revealed. The tree was actually the son of the secretary. He was born with a congenital nail infection, but the doctors only cared about the chairman's son. The secretary then did something momentous in his life. He made the tree the heir to the conglomerate, while Du-shu became the son of a poor cleaning lady. However, the successor also faced his own pressures. He had to study so hard that he bled from the nose to become a talented child in his parents' eyes. But the truth eventually came out. That day, he fell off his horse and lost a lot of blood. When he received a blood transfusion, it was discovered that he was not Chairman Sim's biological son. Sim immediately changed his will. All of the tree's efforts went to waste. From then on, the once good son went astray. The tree began to live a life of debauchery. He wanted to use Chairman Sim's affections to become a king in the shadows. The wife could no longer bear to watch this, so she summoned the tree to her private room to reprimand him, but he refused to listen. She blurted out that he was a fake. In a fit of rage, he murdered his mother. The chairman wanted to witness everything, but for the sake of Zhang Tran Group's reputation, he had to cover up the truth. Back in reality, the tree demanded that the inspector quickly deal with the thug. Then he and his henchmen left. Jia Hai continued to follow the tree. She went into the basement to check and found someone with bloodstained hands. Jia Hai screamed in fear, "It's Mr. Kang." The guard had called Mr. Kang to pick up Du-hak. However, Du-hak was seriously injured. Mr. Kang had given Du-hak first aid and then taken him to the hospital. Mr. Kang also told Jia Hai to come along. Matt rushed to the hospital upon hearing the news. As soon as she saw Jia Hai, Matt immediately assumed she had betrayed them, accusing Du-hak of murder. Kang advised Matt to calm down and wait for Du-hak to wake up to learn the truth. Jia Hai had absolutely no reason to kill Du-hak. Kang suggested Jia Hai go home first. At home, Moni continued to mess up the script for the new film, exactly like she had done to Damie. Tomorrow the film starts shooting. Mai doesn't want the role. She threatens to disfigure her face. Now Jia Hai doesn't even care about her own well-being. She's too preoccupied with her own problems. Jia Hai questions Moni, asking if she asked the tree spirit Hak for help. But Moni denied it. The tree has abandoned her. GH advises her to calm down. Only M can help them now. At least Matthew won't kill them. By the time the film was finished, Du-hak had regained consciousness. Matt wondered why Du-hak dared to go to Sung Tran Group alone. Kang helped Du-hak explain that Du-hak's mother and younger brother had been teasing him. So how could he not be angry? Matt was worried that Du-hak might be in danger and wanted to take him home, but Kang wanted Du-hak to stay in the hospital to recover. Since the engagement announcement, Kang and Matthew had a falling out, but Matthew, being the mastermind behind the revenge plan, still had to follow his decision. The next day, Matthew gathered 6 people, preparing for the next step of the plan. Today was the last day of filming for the new movie, and Matthew gave Moni the script, asking her to answer interview questions according to the script. Director Zhang must use the media to fuel public opinion, turning the corporation into garbage. Ms. Mo must obtain a list of the paintings in the VIP room and record videos of them. The department head and the doctor must cause Chairman Sim's health and spirits to deteriorate, dragging him into the murky waters as well. They only had 32 hours to complete the mission. Anyone who failed would suffer the most agonizing death. Everyone rushed off. Meanwhile, Du-shu received a phone call. Something had happened at his house. Du-shu immediately returned. The entire room had been vandalized, and a knife was still stuck in the painting. Du-shu received a call from a tree, saying that it was because of him that his mother and younger brother had died. The tree would give Du-hak a little more time to live. To participate in his game, Du-hak was furious. He accidentally discovered someone outside and immediately chased after them, but the person had already escaped to the rooftop. Du-hak, using a counter-strategy, ambushed them in the hallway. Through a hole in the door, Du-hak recognized the person as Kang. Recalling Matthew's words from last night, that Kang might have betrayed them because he still had feelings for Ga Hai, and that the two had arranged to meet, Du-hak felt utterly disappointed. Could Kang really be the kind of person who would abandon his friends for a woman? Meanwhile, the other 6 were still carrying out Matthew's plan. Miss Mo deliberately tricked the staff, causing water to spill on an expensive painting, and then, using her talent for painting fakes, successfully won the favor of the gallery director. The director wanted to reward Momo, so she requested access to the VIP art gallery, but only Chairman Sim had access to that room. It turned out the key the director had wasn't for the VIP gallery, but only for the director's private restroom. Momo's mission failed. Moni also started filming, but remembering how she had harmed Damie, she couldn't act smoothly. The director angrily made Moni rehearse the scene repeatedly. Hadn't she easily deceived Dami the year before? Moni forced a smile and endured it. Afterward, Moni and Gar Hai participated in the interview, reading from the script Matthew had prepared. Mentioning Dami's death 5 years prior, which was linked to the corporation, director Zhang and his team of online trolls quickly spread this news online. Reporters immediately surrounded the Zhang Chan group, demanding an explanation from the chairman. Enraged, he summoned the police chief to his house to have his fortune told regarding the future of the Zhang Chan group. The chief predicted that the Zhang Chan group would fail against Tiki, all because of a single insect. Chairman Sim knew who this insect was. It was the very person who had murdered his wife. Chairman Sim immediately went berserk. The psychological manipulation mission was complete. That evening, director Jiang returned home. Madame Nuo had taken her daughter away without his knowledge, leaving only a thank you note. Director Jiang took the child to her. Unexpectedly, Director Jiang received a phone call. He was shocked to learn his daughter had been in an accident. He immediately rushed to the hospital with Madame Nuo. Now she could only call him. Despite being a scoundrel, Director Jiang was completely devoted to the woman he loved. It turned out that on the way home, his daughter encountered a mute old woman and narrowly avoided being hit by a car, so she rushed to warn her. This old woman turned out to be Moni's biological mother, her grandmother. Both of them suffered only minor injuries and, upon meeting for the first time, felt as if they had known each other for a long time. She also taught the little girl sign language, which the girl thoroughly enjoyed. At this point, Chairman Sim began waging war against Tiki Taka. He summoned influential figures and instructed them to prevent Tiki Taka from completing the film. No one wanted to confront the Zhang Chan Corporation. Therefore, the film director dismissed the film crew. Zhang Chan's entire bodyguard team was also sent to cause trouble. Jia Hai's next task was to do everything she could to get the filming going. GH decided to call Kang for help to figure out how to handle the situation. Meanwhile, the doctor also began her mission. With the help of the department head, she successfully tricked the maid, and the doctor took the maid's place in delivering medicine to the chairman. But her skills were too amateurish. She added the poison but still left residue at the bottom. The doctor was kicked out. Her mission had failed. Immediately, her henchmen took her away to be executed. So, 3 people completed their mission: Moni, the chief, and Director Zhang, while 3 others failed. Matt tied them up in a barrel of oil, captured the 3 successful, pushed the barrel into the lake, and killed the 3 unsuccessful. They hesitated, and those on the verge of death pleaded desperately, but Matt threatened them. If they couldn't do it, he would kill them all. Director Zhang proactively held onto his mother, then the chief and Moni followed suit. However, when the oil drum fell into the lake, the chain was cut by someone. The other 3 survived. Matt was completely bewildered. Just then, Kang and his gang appeared. Du-Hak asked Kang what he wanted. Kang pointed a gun at Du-Hak's head, ordering him not to get involved. Then Kang rushed forward and pushed Matthew into the lake. Everyone was in utter panic. After the 2 swam to shore, Kang pointed the gun at Matthew's head, asking him who he really was. Matt just smiled slyly. It turned out he wasn't the foster father of the noodle vendor. Kang began to suspect something. Ever since Matt's greed for money took over, he had lost his resolve for revenge. When Du-Hak was injured and hospitalized, Kang discovered that the shoes Matt was wearing belonged to the man who had murdered Du-Hak. Because he couldn't see the other person's face clearly, Mr. Kang arranged a private meeting with Jia Hai to ask if she had discovered anything. While following the man, Jia Hai saw him driving a red supercar with license plate 3482. Coincidentally, this was Matthew's supercar. Jia Hai also asserted that Matthew was completely different from his adoptive father. He exuded the aura of a rich kid, not a nouveau riche. Surfing is also very captivating. Kang continued to recall another detail. Dam Mi's adoptive father had a fear of water and couldn't possibly know how to surf. So Kang pushed Matt Thu into the lake to see if he could swim. Back to reality, Matt Thu finally admitted that he was a tree. From the very beginning, everyone was manipulated by the tree. When the tree discovered his grandfather's plan, he cleverly used it as a counter-strategy, undergoing facial surgery to change his appearance and taking the place of Dam Mi's adoptive father. The tree was the one who committed the massacre on Jeju Island. Than Tia Minute was the first to suspect the tree and was immediately eliminated by it. The tree was the one who planted the bomb that killed his grandfather, and the tree was also the one who committed the murder. The original intention of the tree wasn't to cover up the case from 5 years ago, but to make Do-hak a laughingstock. He impersonated An Kang and went to Do-hak's house, even creating a fake video of An Kang exchanging saliva with AHI to sow discord between An Kang and Do-hak. Then, using his status as Dami's adoptive father, he cultivated a close brotherly relationship with Do-hak, causing Do-hak to turn his back on An Kang. He wanted Do-shu to regret it terribly later, to lose all the important people in his life and die in agony. Brother Kang wouldn't give him that chance. He intended to help him end his life. Unexpectedly, Brother Kang was betrayed by his subordinates. For these thugs, they'll follow whoever offers them the most benefits. Of course, Kang wasn't as rich or powerful as the tree. His henchmen spread the word, and Kang fired the final shot. At this point, the 6 survivors gathered at the restaurant. They celebrated because Mat Thu was dead. They never expected her to come up with such a grand plan. But Jia Hai still felt uneasy because Kang hadn't contacted her yet. Unexpectedly, Director Zhang received a call from Madame Nuo. She informed him that his daughter had spoken to a stranger that day. The man's fingernails were rough and inflamed. Director Zhang immediately recognized him as the tree. Could the tree know his daughter was still alive? Director Zhang became worried and instructed Madame Nuo to prepare their belongings. They would both take their daughter and flee. The next day, when Du-hu woke up and saw that Ma Thu was still alive, he was overjoyed and immediately hugged Ma Thu. Du-hu wondered where Kang was. Ma Thu lied, saying that Kang might have been swept away by the water. Ma Thu then continued to manipulate Du-hu, saying that Kang had been exploited by the Zhang Tran group, which was why he had acted that way. It was all Chairman Sim's fault. Matt wanted Do-hak to hate his own father, and he succeeded, while Matt himself felt a thrill. Afterward, Matt descended to the secret basement, where only he knew Kang was being held captive. He wouldn't let Kang die easily. He wanted to know where Kang had hidden the remaining money from his grandfather, and Kang had a condition. Mathwi had to tell him whether Dami's adoptive father was alive or dead. Of course he was alive. The Tikiaka project was Dami's adoptive father's idea. Matt wanted to exploit his intelligence to make a lot more money, and even wanted to take over the Zhang Tran Corporation. Kang spat in the face of the despicable man. Matt, enraged, punched Kang. Even after having acid poured on him, Kang was in pain but refused to give up. Matt didn't want Kang to die, so he called the doctor he had arranged for Do-hak. This doctor's job was to inject Do-hak with a drug that would destabilize his mental state, making it easier for Matt to manipulate him. Meanwhile, Director Zhang arrived at his meeting with Madame No. Because he needed time to get a passport, he had to hide with the mother and child at a hotel. Unexpectedly, the gang had caught wind of the situation. Director Jiang hastily fled, but Madame Nuo and his daughter were captured. Director Jiang risked his life to save them. After escaping, Director Jiang immediately contacted Mr. Kang. Only Mr. Kang was trustworthy at this point, but Matt Hua answered the phone instead. He impersonated Mr. Kang, and from that, he learned the truth. His daughter and Moni were still alive. Director Zhang gave the address and asked Kang to arrange for the mother and daughter to go abroad. Matt immediately sent his henchmen to collect the money. At this time, the female director was visiting a grave. It turned out she was Jia's older sister. That year, it was thanks to Jia taking the blame for killing their father that her sister had the opportunity to become a famous director. The director felt remorse. She should have returned home sooner. She would make all those responsible for Jia's death pay the price. Meanwhile, the other 5 were still drunk, celebrating the thought that Matt had died, when suddenly the doorbell rang. The doctor opened the door and froze for 5 seconds. "Everyone, this guy's still alive," she exclaimed. The whole group was terrified by the terrifying sight and dragged to the park. Director Zhang was also caught. The terrifying figure made the 6 of them play a thrill ride, tormenting them relentlessly. For daring to betray him, he wanted them to experience the most painful death. They then blamed Ga-hai, claiming the plan was devised by her and Kang. Ga-hee pleaded with Machu for another chance to complete the mission. This time, Machu wanted Chairman Sim to apologize and for Zhang Chan's stock price to plummet, leaving no room for error. Ga-hee switched to serious mode. assigning tasks to each person and demanding they immediately begin work. The next day, the director held a press conference, inviting many famous foreign directors. Her film had been halted, but she still wanted to reveal the truth about the powerful conglomerate behind it all, as they wanted to conceal the murderer of the shocking case from 5 years ago. The director had a song she wanted to dedicate to Dami, a song composed by Jia. If South Korea ignores this truth, the female director wants to call on the whole world to get involved. Suddenly, Jia Hai rushes up to grab the microphone. She wants to curry favor with Mathwi. It turns out that Jia Hai had betrayed him earlier, revealing their plan, which allowed Mathwi to retaliate. But that wasn't enough for him. Jia Hai decides to tell the truth. She is Dami's biological mother. This film is about exposing the truth. Regarding the person who killed Dami 5 years ago, Jia Hai hopes the police and prosecutors will intervene to bring justice for her daughter. The mother's tears have fallen. The game is over. Matt, confident of victory, now feels interested in Jia Hai and is willing to do anything. Then the others also proceeded with their plans. The department head continued to manipulate Chairman Sim into allowing the doctor to return to work. While the department head was away, the doctor managed to find the access card to enter the VIP room. Next, the doctor gave Chairman Sim medicine and obtained his fingerprints on the bowl of medicine. After obtaining these 2 items, she immediately sent them to Ms. Mo, helping her break into the art gallery. However, there were many laser warning lights inside, so Ms. Mo grabbed her skirt and easily reached the alarm switch. Finally, she stole the list of bribe paintings from Zhang Tra. At the same time, Hai arrived at the police station, demanding a reinvestigation of Dami's case. Reporters gathered at the Zhang Tran group, demanding an explanation from Chairman Sim, who promised to cooperate with the investigation and not use his power to interfere. Seizing this opportunity, the prosecution immediately raided Chairman Sim's office, collecting all evidence related to tax evasion and bribery. The company's stock plummeted, and the office was in turmoil. Chairman Sim was furious. He ordered his secretary not to let the tree leave the office. If he hadn't shown up, things would have calmed down on their own. But the secretary had already betrayed him. The tree, under the guise of a cool autumn tree, was wandering aimlessly in the streets. At this moment, Kang used all his strength and finally managed to tie the ropes. Kang poured acid on the chains, burning his hands, just to escape from this place. Accidentally, Kang discovered on the screen that another person was also imprisoned. Kang immediately recognized the burned face as that of Dam Mi's adoptive father. Where on earth was he being held? Kang tried to break down the basement door to escape, but he no longer had the strength. Just then, Du Hak, in a daze, walked over and accidentally triggered a mechanism that caused the basement door to open. However, the 2 men did not come face to face. Afterward, Kang smashed Mathwi's tracking device and escaped the house. On the way, Kang contacted Director Zhang, asking him to find Du Hak. Only then did Director Zhang realize that Madame No and her daughter hadn't been picked up by Kang. Kang intended to tell him the truth about Mathwi. At that moment, Director Zhang's phone was being tapped. He took Kang to the Sohn Cultural Forest. Coincidentally, Director Zhang was spotted by GHI, who immediately followed them in her car. That evening, they arrived at the Sohn Cultural Forest, but before Kang could meet Director Zhang, he was dragged away by her henchmen. The person waiting for Kang was Jia Hai, who handed him over to Mathie as a gift. Kang was beaten senseless by Tan's henchmen, and finally Machu stabbed him and threw him into the sea. After all that, Jia Hai finally gained Machu's trust. It turned out that betraying Kang was also part of a plan to deceive and be close to Machu, because he was an extremely cunning and ruthless man. At this point, King drifted ashore to an island, where there was a man who looked like an ape. This was his foster father, Dam Mi. This island was where Chairman Sim kept the tree. His foster father then pulled Kang ashore. Mat Thu, seemingly confident of victory, used the demon slave and his daughter to threaten and force Director Zhang into becoming a docile dog. Meanwhile, Mat Thu pretended to be a good person, taking his daughter and Madame Nuo home to care for them. His daughter also loved him very much. Director Zhang was furious at the sight. Jia Hai sensed something was wrong, so she secretly took a strand of her daughter's hair for testing. Later, Mat Thu went to see Du Hak, saying that his brother had been murdered. The real culprit was the Zhang Tran group, who wanted to pit Du Hak against Chairman Sim. Sure enough, Du Hak angrily went to confront Chairman Sim. Matt even called someone to pave the way for Du Hak. At the same time, Moni met with Chairman Sim. Confessing to the entire relationship between her and Ki, Chairman Sim wondered when the two had last met. Just a few days ago, Chairman Sim suffered a heart attack. Unexpectedly, that damned scoundrel had escaped from the island. Suddenly, Do-Huk burst in. Moni quickly dodged, expecting Do-Huk to act like a bully, but instead, he knelt down and begged Chairman Sim to return Kang to him. Chairman Sim didn't even know who Kang was. Do-Huk, thinking he was faking it, became enraged and wanted to die with Chairman Sim, believing that doing so would end everything. However, Moni took a blow meant for Chairman Sim. Do-Huk, in a panic, rushed her to the hospital. Chairman Sim decided he needed to investigate thoroughly. He instructed his secretary to arrange a meeting with Mathwi to find out why he was targeting the Zhang Chan group. Meanwhile, Do-Huk took Moni to the hospital, but she refused to stay still and immediately returned to the film crew. Moni was determined to finish the film. Enraged at the prospect of fame, Do-Huk invited Moni to dinner, saying he needed to clarify something with her. Moni successfully manipulated Do-Huk, wanting to use him as her last resort. That evening, the two went to a small restaurant. As soon as they entered, Moni felt uneasy. Du-Shu calmly sat down and ordered food. Unexpectedly, Moni's mother worked there. She thought Du-Shu was just teasing her and immediately wanted to get up and leave. Du-Shu advised her to sit down and eat in front of his mother, something he had previously disregarded but could never do again. Just then, two more customers arrived at the restaurant. They harassed Moni's mother because she was disabled. Du-Shu couldn't help but want to stand up, but unexpectedly, Moni proactively cursed at the two men. They immediately realized Moni was a celebrity and tried to record a video to expose her behavior. Du-Shu also recorded a video as evidence. They were the troublemakers and conveniently taught the boyfriend a lesson, forcing both of them to leave. Afterwards, Du-Shu and Moni continued eating. Moni kept glancing at her mother, seemingly regretting her poor treatment of her. On the other side, Jia Shi and the doctor were discussing where he had hidden his grandfather's money. Last night, the two of them were also present at the scene. After Matthew left, they hired someone to pull Kang ashore. While Kang was unconscious, they wanted to know where he had hidden the money. Kang mistook the person who had just pulled him out for Du-Huk, mumbled the number 34, and then fell into a coma again. Jia Hai then ordered Kang to be thrown back into the sea. After returning home, Jia Hai began searching for clues. Related to the number 34, she discovered a place where Dami had lived that had this number. The next day, she immediately went to house number 34. There she met the doctor. It turned out the doctor had also guessed the location, and the two searched together, but still found no clues. Unexpectedly, both of them were urinated on by an old beggar, forcing them to turn back. It turned out the old man was guarding the money that the young man had buried deep underground. Meanwhile, Mathwi arrived at the art exhibition. Although there was information about the rivalry between the Zhang Chan and Tikiaka corporations, the gallery director was still a big fan of Mathwi. She also invited Machu to the exhibition 3 days later. Afterward, a VIP guest came to the gallery to discuss exhibition plans with the director. Machu overheard them discussing how Chairman Sim was having an affair and fathering another child. There were rumors that the current child wasn't his biological son. Machu couldn't control his anger and went home to smash things. He ordered 6 people to gather for the next assignment. This time, Matthew wanted to completely destroy the reputation of the Zhang Tran group. During the 3-day art exhibition, the 6 people had to steal famous paintings and replace them with fake ones that she had bought and painted. This mission was truly difficult, as the exhibition would attract a large crowd. Matthew decided to entrust command to Director Zhang to test his loyalty. Director Zhang then urged them to practice, preparing for the art theft plan. 3 days after the exhibition began, the 6 men were in position. The first step was for Matthew to use the identity of the tree to call the gallery director, saying he had just returned to the country. The director seemed terrified of him, so he called Chairman Sim, asking him to come pick up his precious son and take him home. The director lost his temper and ruined the party. The 6 realized it was time to act, and the group hurriedly left the hall. At the same time, Matt drugged the security room, turning off all the security cameras. Then he went to see the lady who had slandered him, and personally pushed her down the stairs to her death. Mattu felt incredibly exhilarated by the feeling of being attacked by a bastard. Meanwhile, 6 people arrived at the VIP art gallery. The model informed them that the tree was there, and the whole group immediately wavered, not wanting to continue with their plan. Director Jiang reminded them that whether they were trapped under a tree or burned to death, it didn't matter. They should continue their mission, perhaps finding a slim chance of survival. Everyone obeyed Director Jiang. Then, the 6 of them infiltrated the art gallery. As usual, Ms. Mo deactivated all the alarm systems, and they immediately took the paintings out. However, Jia Hai discovered that Du Hak wasn't in the car that was supposed to be waiting for them. It turned out that after hearing Ko Mo mention the tree, Du Hak had immediately forgotten his mission and rushed into the exhibition to look for it. The 5 of them then tried to retreat, but Director Zhang pointed his gun at them. He warned that if anyone tried to retreat, he'd shoot them in the head, and the whole group would then trudge back into the VIP gallery carrying the fake paintings. They discovered that a chair that had been there moments before was nowhere to be seen, and unexpectedly, on that chair lay the murdered Lady Shui. The whole group immediately abandoned their paintings and fled, fearing they would become suspects. At the same time, the man called the police to the scene, confessing to being the murderer. He told the police that he was wearing a checkered shirt and a black hat. However, this was the same outfit that Du Shu was wearing. The tree gave Du Hak a gift before the mission began, and it also guided Du Hak to find the world's only diamond watch that Chairman Sim had specially commissioned for his son. The police found it in the VIP art gallery, and everyone rushed to see it in a chaotic manner. The tree left a message for Chairman Sim. This scene closely resembled the crime scene involving the chairman's wife. He deeply regretted covering up for the tree at the time. Later, the police found Du Hak, who matched the tree's description, and arrested him at the QE and police station. They believed Du Hak was the tree's accomplice, but he was the one who wanted to devour the tree more than anyone else. The police presented the evidence. The camera recorded the incident. Du Hak was acting strangely. Du Hak wanted to call Mathwi, believing he would help. But MW didn't answer the phone. He had achieved his goal of sending Du Hak to jail. Du Hak wasn't going to sit idly by and wait to die. While the police were bringing him food, Du Hak attacked them. After subduing 2 police officers, Du Hak stole the keys to unlock the handcuffs and fled. He also stole a traffic police officer's motorcycle. Faced with a fierce police pursuit, Du Hak was cornered. Just then, Moni appeared, reaching out to him. Du Hak mustered his courage and leaped across the opposite building, narrowly escaping Moni's grasp. Du Hak also began to regain his affection for this girl. On the other side, after clearing all obstacles, Matt decided to acknowledge his biological father. But the secretary said that he wasn't Matt's father, that he was willing to sacrifice everything for his son to help Matt erase his humble origins. Matt felt this was also a good thing. If he could disregard everything to reach the pinnacle of fame, what need was there for a father? It was time for Matt to meet Chairman Sim. Now, the entire conglomerate was under Matt's control. All the employees had to bow to him. Matt recalled a past event. He had always strived his hardest to be the top student in the school, but he still couldn't please Chairman Sim. Sim always called him a fake. One day, he found Du Shu, a mere braggart at school, yet possessing the aura of a genius, ranking first in math and physics without any prior study. He decided to challenge Du Shu to a duel, even though he had topped the physics exam himself due to cheating. From then on, he was determined to prevent Du Shu from getting close to Chairman X, waiting until he had everything under control before letting them both reunite in the afterlife. Returning to reality, he entered Chairman Sim's office. He wanted to know who Matthew was and why he was opposing the Zhang Tran Corporation. Matthew gave the chairman a few hints, but he still couldn't figure it out. Finally, he mentioned the chairman's wife's secret, which immediately caused the chairman to have a heart attack. Matthew left in triumph, and the secretary immediately went into Chairman Sim's office to check on him. He couldn't die yet. He immediately performed CPR on Chairman Sim. At the same time, the exhibition hall was searched. The police arrested the director and took her to the station for questioning, as she was the one handling Chairman Sim's bribe funds. The 6 members of the group informed each other that the plan was complete. Ji Hai then instructed them to delete all messages so that the police couldn't trace anything. Just then, the police chief announced the shocking news that Mai had helped Du Hak escape. Jia Hai believed this was Mathwi's plan, but Director Zhang insisted that Mathwi wouldn't save Du Hak. Moni might have feelings for Du Hak. Mathwi had also received the news, but he didn't care, because now Du Hak was like a fish on a chopping block, and the only person Du Hak could rely on was him. At this moment, Moni helped Du Shu escape to the riverbank. Du Shu wondered why Moni was saving him. Over time, Moni had somewhat guessed that the tree was targeting Du Shu, and there might be some connection between them, so Moni wanted to ask Du Shu to stop the tree. Du Shu, however, felt worried for Moni. She would know how to escape on her own. Moni tore her shirt, pretending to be threatened by Dushu to get him to report to the police, but she also used the opportunity to send a message to Dushu, asking the police for time. Dushu wanted to catch the tree himself. Meanwhile, Jia Shi and the doctor were also investigating clues about house number 34. 5 years before her grandfather disappeared, the house was being rebuilt, and the old man and asked them to see him was her grandfather's secretary. Now both Kang and Dami's adoptive father have disappeared. Du Hak has been arrested. The secretary doesn't know what to do next. Meanwhile, Du Hak goes to find Mathy. He intends to trick Du Hak again, but this time Du Hak insists that Mathy follow his instructions. The two go to a hotel. Du Hak borrows Mathy's jacket and goes up to the room first, then takes the opportunity to plant a listening device in his jacket. It was Moni who told Du Hak that Matt's plan was flawed. Du Hak wanted to know why Matt treated him that way. Unexpectedly, Matt was burning trees. Du Hak was almost devastated. The person he considered a brother had, in fact, been plotting against him from beginning to end. Du Hak bought a gun, determined to get revenge, and then go down to apologize to Kang. Because he didn't trust him, Dushu went to find Moni and told her the truth. The key was that Dushu wanted to infiltrate Tiki Takaka and use the server to notify all users. Moni would help Dushu mislead the staff about Matthew's true identity. The two proceeded with their plan successfully. Dushu caught the server administrator of Tiki Takaka and demanded to be led to the server. Du Hak wrote a short message. Matthew was the tree, but before he could press enter, he was suddenly drugged. The person who arrived was Director Jiang. Matthew had used Madame Nuo and his daughter to threaten Director Jiang into bringing Du Hak to him. After capturing Du Hak, Director Jiang immediately took him to Matthew's place. The secretary was waiting and told Director Jiang he could leave after finishing his business. Director Jiang reluctantly left. Meanwhile, Jia Hai received the test results, discovering that the daughter was not Director Jiang's biological child. She also learned from Moniko that after giving birth the previous year, Moni had given the baby to Director Jiang. It was he who spread the rumor that the baby had died prematurely. Jia Hai then took Moni's hair for comparison and discovered that the baby was indeed Moni's daughter with the tree. Later, Jia Hai went to Matthew's house, intending to tell him about this, but only met Madame Nuo and her daughter. The little girl warned Jia Hai not to touch the horse, otherwise Matthew would be furious. Ya hi fao curio. Deciding to check the horse, she opened a mechanism, revealing Matthew's secret basement. Jia Hai went deeper inside to investigate, finding screens. She immediately realized that her adoptive father was elsewhere, and also guessed Matthew's true identity as a tree. Unexpectedly, Jia Hai received a call from the man, who asked her to come to his office. It was then that Jia Hai realized there were security cameras in the building. Her actions had been discovered by Matt, but Jia Hai wasn't a coward. She still went to the office to meet Matt. Jia Hai tricked him into revealing his identity, and then used her phone to record everything. Jia Hai wanted half of Tiki Taka's shares, threatening to immediately post the audio recording online if her demands weren't met. Matt found her cunning and audacious, yet she suited him perfectly. He agreed to Jia Hai's condition, but Jia Hai had to help him with one thing, using her mother's identity to completely overthrow Chairman Sim so he could inherit the conglomerate. At this point, Chairman Sim, manipulated by his secretary, decided to find a powerful scapegoat for the tree, and the person he targeted was Du Hak. Subsequently, the chairman held a public press conference using a deepfake video claiming that the tree was undergoing medical treatment in America. Du Hak was the thief who had broken into the house, murdered his wife, stolen the tree's diamond watch, and impersonated the tree to commit crimes everywhere. Chairman Sim and the tree are not involved in the cases. Suddenly, Jia Hai appears, declaring that the chairman's statements are false. The tree returned to the country 5 years ago and is the culprit behind all the cases. However, because the tree has changed his appearance, no one has been able to find him. Jia Hai claims that the tree is actually Du Hak. She asked Matthew's doctor to bring another fake video, which showed the surgical team in the city of Hak. Everyone was surprised. Chairman Sim became bewildered. He vehemently insisted it wasn't Jia Hai, but why would she do such a thing?
Ya hi pretended tokri.
She claimed to be a mother seeking justice for Dami. Jia Hai requested that Chairman Sim conduct a DNA test to prove that Du Hak was not a tree. Chairman Sim readily agreed. Whether Du Hak was a tree or not, he was certain that he was not his offspring. Chairman Sim was completely unaware that he was falling into another trap. Later, the police searched Du Hak's house, collected his DNA sample, and compared it with Chairman Sim's. Matt Thu's plan was almost perfect. He had only one weakness: the existence of his daughter. Too many people already knew this secret. Matt Thu wanted to eliminate the child so that no one would discover his weakness. Therefore, he decided to act personally. Matt ordered his subordinates to bring Madame No and his daughter to him. Today, while at the supermarket, her daughter chose a pair of gloves for Matt. Upon noticing his rough fingernails, Madame No immediately recognized this as a characteristic of the plant that Director Zhang had mentioned to her. Madame No gestured to her daughter, suggesting they play hide-and-seek later. The little girl was also very intelligent and immediately understood that Matthew was a bad person. Madame No used the excuse of taking the girl to the restroom. Matt was forced to let them get out of the car. But when the mother and daughter didn't return, Matt became anxious and went to look for them, only to discover that they had both escaped. Madame No managed to catch a taxi, temporarily shaking off Matthew. She then called Director Zhang, but at the crucial moment, he didn't answer the phone. Madame Nuo decided to take her daughter to her biological mother. At this time, Moni was being chased by protesters, forcing her to temporarily stop filming. Because of the scandals 5 years ago, the director revealed Jia's sister's identity, exposing the whole truth and forcing Moni to compensate for the contract. She dragged the two managers along as scapegoats and hurriedly left the studio. Just outside, Moni bumped into Madame No and her daughter. Madame No asked Moni to look after her daughter. Moni was confused. Suddenly, a complete stranger had appeared, bringing a child and asking her to take care of her. But Madame No didn't have time to explain, as Matthew caught up with her. She then used herself to lure Matthew into letting Moni take their daughter away. But the little girl refused to chase after Madame Nuo. Moni initially intended to ignore it, but with a mother's instinct, she wanted to protect the child. Madame Nuo was cornered by Matthew. He wondered why Madame Nuo would protect someone else's child even at the cost of her own life. Madame No cursed Matthew, a devilish father who would never understand the sacredness of family love. Moni and her daughter, hiding nearby, overheard the entire conversation and immediately recognized the child as her own daughter. Matthew discovered them both. Madame No wanted to stop him, determined to die with him. She hugged Matthew and jumped off the rooftop. Madame No was injured and unconscious. Unfortunately, there was a gas cylinder nearby with a leaky valve. The explosion killed Madame No, who was in the process of ejaculating, while Matthew's fate was unknown. It turned out that when he fell from the building, he was lucky enough to get caught on an electrical wire, so he only suffered minor injuries. His henchmen arrived at the scene and immediately pulled Matthew ashore. He ordered his henchmen to quickly find Madame No and her daughter. They immediately launched a search. Seeing her daughter crying incessantly, Moni lost patience and considered abandoning the child. Suddenly, she recognized the henchman's car and quickly pulled her daughter into an abandoned building to hide. There, Moni met the female director, who turned out to have been following her all along. Moni admits to all her past mistakes, from harming Dami to Zia. But Moni didn't kill anyone. The killer is the tree. While in Matwa's form, the director herself is being manipulated by it. The director doesn't believe Moni, so she points to a child and claims it's her daughter, saying that Moni will pay for her actions. But she can't die yet. If Mon dies, no one can expose the tree's true identity. The female director decides to trust her one last time. Then, she tricks the gang into believing the baby has fallen into the water. The gang only manages to find the shoe before returning to inform Matthew that both the baby and Madame No are dead. Meanwhile, Director Zhang discovers numerous missed calls from Madame No. He hurriedly called back. Madame No, with her last breath, asked Director Jiang to take care of her daughter, absolutely not to let her become the child of a criminal like the tree. Director Jiang attached a GPS tracker to Madame No's phone and immediately rushed to the scene. But she couldn't make it. Director Jiang's anger flared up. Now there was no reason for him to side with Matt anymore. At this point, the police, in collaboration with the hospital, announced the DNA test results of Duhak to Chairman Sim. The two were confirmed to be father and son, a surprising revelation for everyone. Even Chairman Sim couldn't believe it. Then, Matthew appeared at the chairman's house, revealing the whole truth. He was the one who had returned for revenge. It turned out that upon discovering the tree wasn't his biological son, Chairman Sim imprisoned him on a deserted island and gave him tranquilizers to keep him there permanently. Thanks to this new appearance, he was able to devise the entire plan to pit the chairman and his son against each other, while easily taking over the Xinjiang Corporation himself. Chairman Sim called out the secretary's name. His eyes narrowed in amusement. The secretary admitted that he had been involved in the affair between his own child and the chairman's son. Finally, Chairman Sim realized that Du-Hak was indeed his biological son. Matthew then mocked him, saying that he had brought Du-Hak before the chairman, and the chairman still didn't recognize him, so how could he possibly distinguish between the real and the fake? Afterward, Matthew, impersonating his brother, called Du-Hak, saying he was being held captive at the chairman's house, and even gave Du-Hak directions to the house. Realizing he'd been tricked again, Du-Hak tried to rush towards Kin Matt but was restrained by the secretary. Matt pointed a gun at Du-Hak, and Chairman Sim begged him to spare his son, offering to hand over the entire corporation to him. But Matthew had already prepared a staged father-son feud. He shot Du-Hak in the leg and then live-streamed a fabricated video using deepfake technology, falsely claiming that Chairman Sim was the one who shot Du-Hak, and that he wanted to kill Du-Hak and frame Chairman Sim. He's a real lunatic. But Matthai didn't expect Chairman Sim to take the bullet for Du-Hak. Chairman Sim held Matthai back so Du-Hak could escape, but the secretary was still there. Du-Hak grabbed a vase, stunned him, and then took the opportunity to run away. Unable to catch up, Matthai immediately asked the secretary to turn off the video. Otherwise, everyone would know it was staged. He was furious and wanted to kill the chairman of the Sim company, but the secretary stopped him. If the chairman died, the entire plan would fail. The secretary would clean up the scene and tell Matt to leave quickly. Then he would transfer the chairman to the hospital for house arrest, and at the same time arrange the paperwork to sell the conglomerate to a foreign company. Matt would use the name of a Chinese corporation to acquire it at a low price, thus protecting the national enterprise. The government will certainly invest capital. Right now, the most important thing is still my grandfather's money. I need it. Only then will I have enough capital to buy back Sung Chan. At this point, the doctor came to see Ji Hai. She had almost figured out the whole situation. The eye-catching trick he used was to manipulate everyone to take over the Sung Tra Corporation and eliminate Du-Hak, because Du-Hak is the biological son of Chairman Sim, while Matthew is not. Previously, when she worked at the maternity hospital, the doctor knew that Chairman Sim's family only had one son, so she deduced that Matthew wasn't the biological son, he was an imposter. Initially, Jia Hai thought the two were brothers fighting over the inheritance, but now she doesn't need to worry about it anymore because Matthew has already secured the victory. As for her, she's on the side of the victor. The doctor also came here to announce something. She's found Grandpa's money. It's hidden in the basement of house number 34. She just needs to get the money and then she'll flee abroad. Tonight, the doctor will go with the chief to collect the money. Jia Hai will be outside to provide backup. Unexpectedly, Jia Hai betrayed them by telling Matthew about this. The two conspired to embezzle the money. Jia Hai had one condition. Matthew had to give her half of the shares in the Zhongtran Corporation. Matthew reluctantly agreed and planned his next move. That evening, the doctor and the police chief began their operation. While old Mr. N was asleep, they broke into house number 34. After a while of searching, the police chief found the office. He used a metal cutter to break through the iron door, gaining access to the enormous sum of money. The doctor immediately shared the good news with Jia Hai. There were 2 trillion Vietnamese dong there, so Jia Hai reported it to Matthew so he could proceed with the plan to ambush and rob the money. Afterwards, the doctor and the police chief loaded the money onto a truck and excitedly drove home. Unfortunately, they ran into traffic police on duty. The department head tried to bypass the checkpoint, but the serious traffic police officer refused. Both had to get out of the car. At that moment, a truck driver carrying money sped away. The traffic police also cleaned up the scene. It turned out they were a fake traffic police team, hired by my grandfather's secretary. The secretary was determined not to let anyone else get their hands on the money. It was practically slipping through her fingers. The doctor returned to question Ga Hai because only 3 people knew about the plan. She suspected Ga Hai intended to pocket the money all by herself. Ga Hai then remembered Matwa. He might be the one who stole it. Meanwhile, Du-Hak attacked the hospital. He needed Chairman Sim's help to expose Mathwa's true identity. Du-Hak was being chased by the Wind Gang's henchmen, but luckily he was rescued by Director Jiang. Du-Hak believed Director Jiang wanted to hand him over to Mathwi, so he attacked him. Director Jiang explained that he had been threatened by Mathwi and that's why he was acting as his henchman. Now that Madame Nuo is dead, he must make Mathwi pay the price. The two now share a common enemy. Director Jiang helps Du Shu lure the gang members into Chairman Sim's hospital room. Chairman Sim is still alive. Dushu wants to know the password to Zhang Chan's server to use it to reveal the truth about Mathwi. Chairman Sim, without much thought, tells Dushu the password. That was the day he was born. Director Jiang hurriedly led Dushu away because his henchmen were about to return. Next, they would continuously attack Mathu's weaknesses. At this time, Mathu was preparing to hold a press conference. He announced that Director Jiang was Dushu's accomplice. If anyone could capture the two of them, he would offer a reward of 10 billion. Mathy didn't need to bother searching. Jia Hai brought flowers to congratulate Mathy. Du Huk also disguised himself as a flower delivery person, placing a camera and a phone in the office. After everyone left, Jia Hai questioned Mathy, asking if he had pocketed the money alone. She was no longer afraid of Mathy. 2 trillion yuan was enough to drive anyone crazy, and both sides began to tear each other apart. Jia Hai kicked Matt in the groin and then lay writhing on the chair. Suddenly, Matt received a text message, asking him to open the phone on his desk. The entire office was being live-streamed. Mathwy's true identity and Jia Hai's collaboration with the man who was chasing his daughter were spreading rapidly online. Matthew had no choice but to appear at the press conference and explain everything to everyone. Du Huk stood aside, secretly chuckling. This was just the beginning of his revenge. Going back a few days, when Du Huk, injured, left the XM chairman's house, he had nowhere else to go and sought Moni's help. Du Huk wanted Moni to install tracking software on Hai's phone so they could see all the conversations between Hai and Matthew. Knowing about the plan to steal the money, Du Huk decided to take the initiative and went to house number 34. It turned out that this was the house where Dami's adoptive parents and Du Huk's family used to live. The secretary recognized Du Huk immediately and removed her disguise. Du Huk recounted everything, explaining that Matt was not Dami's adoptive father but a tree, and that he was the one who killed Kang. Tonight they're going to steal Grandpa's money. The secretary cleverly devised a plan, hiding the money elsewhere. Dushu will use this money for one last fight with Matthew. Back to reality, Matthew quickly fled the press conference. He believed Dushu alone couldn't have caused this commotion. Chairman Sim must have helped him. Matthew wanted to kill him to spite Ha. However, when he returned to the hospital, Chairman Sim had already been rescued. He was preparing to hold a press conference to publicly reveal Mathwy's true identity. Mathwy ordered his henchmen to stop him, but the henchmen couldn't keep up with Chairman Sim. He arrived at the press conference. Chairman Sim revealed the whole truth. He discovered that Ki wasn't his biological son, and also knew that Ki had murdered his wife. But because his wife begged him, the chairman turned a blind eye, allowing Ki to become a monster. He apologized to all the victims, including Dami's family, his mother and younger brother Du Huk, and the poor little girl Jia. Ki had to pay for his crimes, and he was living under a cool, detached guise. The chairman also acknowledged his biological son, Du Huk. After everything, he hoped Du Huk would be exonerated. The reporter then asked, "How can you prove that the tree is real?" The chairman revealed the truth. The tree was the secretary's biological son. He had manipulated things so his son could live a luxurious life, while the chairman's son suffered greatly. The tree had a congenital nail infection, which was easily identifiable. Finally, the chairman hoped that all the victims would receive justice. After saying this, he breathed his last. Dushu wanted to go to his father's side, but was stopped by the secretary. He was not allowed to appear yet. Matt, upon seeing the news, packed his belongings and fled. By the time the police arrived at the house, he had left no trace. Meanwhile, Director Jiang took his daughter out to eat. Moni wanted to hold a press conference to reveal her true identity and expose Mathwy's true nature. But Director Jiang had promised Ma Dan Nuo that she wouldn't know she was the child of a devil. Director Jiang would raise his daughter himself, and Moni didn't need to worry about her. Witnessing their argument, the daughter, not wanting to upset them, secretly ran away. The little girl remembered Dam Mi's mother's phone number and borrowed hers to call her. Knowing that Dam Mi was a good person, the girl decided to take her granddaughter in. She also called Director Zhang to let him know, assuring him that he could rest assured. At this time, Moni received a call from Matt Thu, who, using their old relationship, wanted Moni to bring Du Huk to meet him. Moni then cleverly devised a plan to play a painful trick on Matt Thu. That evening, Matt went to the meeting place alone, where Moni, Du Huk and Director Zhang were lying in ambush. They used mirrors to prevent Matt from locking onto his target, and then continuously attacked him. Du Huk intended to end Moni's life, but unfortunately, he took Moni hostage. Moni told Do-hak to keep shooting and not worry about her. Unexpectedly, the gang members arrived and opened fire indiscriminately, but they quickly came to Matthew's aid. 3 more men were captured. At the same time, Matthew's secretary, acting on orders, went to the deserted island to deal with his adoptive father, then disappeared with him. Matthew didn't want the secretary to become a weakness that would allow others to confirm his identity. So the secretary brought a bomb to the island. Seeing his adoptive father still obediently in his room, he could safely plant the bomb. Then the secretary, after killing off his teammates, called MW to say his final words, "I will do everything for you." This was the first time Matt felt a little moved, but he quickly brushed it aside. It wasn't the time to be soft-hearted. Afterward, the secretary activated the bomb to bury the body on the island, unaware that his adoptive father had already been taken away by Kang. Meanwhile, the doctor, the head of the department, and Miss Mo are trying to cross the border and escape abroad, leaving Jia Hai alone. But Jia Hai has discovered that she wants to go with them. From the beginning, Jia Hai had betrayed them by siding with Matt Thu, so they decided to abandon her. However, the 3 of them are unable to hire a boat to cross the border. Jia Hai reappeared, saying she had managed to rent one under the most desperate circumstances. The chief looked towards the sea and islands, and an idea struck him. Even while fleeing, he should enjoy life. The 4 of them ate and drank lavishly, with Jia Hai offering them soft drinks. When they woke up, the other 3 discovered they were tied up. Jia Hai betrayed them once again. She wanted to curry favor with Matthew, but Matthew wanted to eliminate everyone who knew his secret, even his own father. It turned out Hai was no exception. 7 people were trapped in a building, and his henchmen, armed with guns, appeared, wanting to play a survival game with them. The 7 had 1 minute to hide, after which the henchmen would hunt them down. The department head disguised himself as a statue sitting on a toilet, poured a chamber pot over a security guard, and, along with the doctor, took him down. Moni was also discovered by the security guard, but luckily, Do-hak rescued her. Director Zhang hid in the elevator. Tan gave the security guard a good beating. She and Ji Hai hid under the kitchen counter, and, too scared, went all out to fight back. The 7 of them regrouped, recognizing the guards, who apparently had no intention of killing them. Just then, a cloud of smoke billowed out, containing zombie poison, and the scene on the deserted island reappeared. They had to experience being hunted again. They all fled to the rooftop. Matt was waiting there. He had planted bombs all over the building. Do-hak was forced to die. The remaining 6 had an equal chance, either obey him or die with Do-hak. In the end, they all chose to abandon Do-hak and board the plane with Matthew. Mai had feelings for Do-hak, but couldn't bear to lose a mother for him. Do-hak felt betrayed and utterly helpless. Matthew set off a time bomb to ensure Do-hak would never appear before him again. However, things didn't go as planned. Kang and Dami's adoptive father arrived just in time. Dami's adoptive father asked Kang to take Do-hak away, emphasizing the need to capture Matthew. Dami's adoptive father would stay behind, and someone had to impersonate Do-hak and die in his place to make Matthew lower his guard. Do-hak and Kang must replace those who have died and continue the revenge. Where will the battle between the 2 forces lead? Will the evil one, with everything in his hands, win, or will justice prevail for those at the bottom who rise up to seek revenge? Let's look forward to the next part. Part 1 of the series ends here. See you in the next videos.